This episode of the Professional Priestess Podcast is a special one, a birthday drop, a deep, decadent pour of truth, embodiment, and sacred connection. What you're about to hear is raw, vulnerable, and profoundly real. Not just about me, but about the lived reality of those who are truly called to this path, the ones asked by the divine to offer their gifts, hold the frequency, and become the modality itself. My guest today is Krysta Kinslow, and she is a new friend, yet from the very first moment, it felt like a slipping into a favorite worn-in sweater by a fire, hands wrapped around a cup of something warm that I love to sip. Familiar, expansive, a soul recognition wrapped in comfort and clarity. In today's birthday episode, you're being invited behind not just the veil, but my veil, into the partnership, the co-creation, and the subtle dance that happens when two women who embody their work sit together and let the divine speak through them. Krysta was called to digest, interpret, and translate the language of the gene keys in a way that is completely her own, bioavailable, resonant, and so alive. Her magic isn't something you have to work with. It works with you. It moves you. It shifts you. It expands you. No effort, no doing, just being. This is a long episode, but it is worth every second. We deep dive into one specific aspect of my own gene keys, and although the chart work is personal, the initiation you'll receive just by witnessing this conversation will move something deep inside you. So, please, settle in, receive the upgrade codes, get to know me more intimately, and witness the powerhouse, the oracle, the embodied living transmission that is Krysta Kinslow, speaking the truth and living the frequency of the gene keys in her purest form. Listeners, today is going to be something you have never expected, could never have asked for, and will have your mind absolutely blown. I'm going to introduce you to someone who has a wisdom, a knowledge, a perspective, and a style that you have never seen before. And after give her a minute, 2 minutes, you're going to want one of these for yourself. I can guarantee it. Welcome to the show, Krysta. I am so excited for this.
Well, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for that very warm welcoming.
So there is so much that we have prepared for everybody today, but I want to start by setting the stage of how you got to this place of being able to not only have the breadth of information that it takes to be able for us to have this conversation, but for us to also get to the specificity of like, the two of us could talk about the totality of it and we had to like pick one little thing. So I know that could be a whole episode itself, but tell us a little bit about your journey with wisdom and knowledge and spirituality and how it grounded down to what we're going to talk about today, the gene keys.
Oh, okay. My journey has been a very up and down, very turbulent, and it's so much gifts coming throughout all of it. Basically, I went into learning how to be a coach about maybe 5 to 7 years ago, somewhere in there. And I kind of got put into an industry where it felt like I just had so much noise around me. And while that's not a bad thing, and it provided a lot of contrast for me, it became something that kind of disconnected me from my inner voice, my inner knowing, my inner rhythm. And I was trying so hard to be something that I thought I needed to be. It was very performative. It was very, this is how I'm supposed to go about life. This is how I'm supposed to move. And none of it felt right. And so it felt like I was kind of being pulled apart from the inside out. And when I discovered human design to begin with, I started to understand I'm a projector within human design, just like you. And the biggest thing is you just hear that your energy needs to be invited in, but you don't need to be forcing or pushing or trying to do all of the things that other energy types have the energy and the capacity to be able to do. And that was how I was getting trained so much, was this keep pushing, keep reaching out to people, keep doing this, keep moving without the invitation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can feel
Yeah.
that you're feeling that too.
No, no, no,
No.
no.
And so when I discovered that, I got really into human design, but it felt like it wasn't really my zone of genius. It was just this really interesting platform that I love to learn about. And our mutual friend actually introduced me to the Gene Keys because she basically said that it was like exactly what my language was, talking in the shadows and the gifts frequencies and all of that. And when I found it, I literally ordered this book. I'm not even kidding, the Gene Keys book from Richard Rudd. And I just read, I think, probably close to 10 or 15 Gene Keys the first night I got it. I stayed up all night. It was so
Yeah.
manic. And it was, I don't even know if I was actually even absorbing the information, but it was just, I can't get enough. I just want to keep reading this because this is speaking to energies that I've understood for a really long time, but it doesn't feel like anyone else ever saw these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so that led me through a very windy, very long-winded journey of figuring out how to actually utilize Gene Keys as a tool with which I work with people. And the more that I explore my own Gene Keys, the more that I explore others' Gene Keys, I get to see so much more of what makes us so different, but so similar. And it's just been a really beautiful journey of now getting the chance and the opportunity to put my own take on these Gene Keys. It's a living transmission, and it feels like I'm getting my hand to kind of paint it with my own language with it. And it's been feeling just so warm and so alive. And I've been working with them ever since.
And guys, I can completely validate this like painting with your own hand perspective because as someone who has studied the Gene Keys, utilized the Gene Keys in other programs, both receiving and giving, has read the book from cover to cover, as well as the like specific Pearl book and used that application wise, the practitioners that I am most connected to, immediately attracted to, and have these what I like to call like, oh my God, explosions of like, we're both just like, of like, there's so much we're trying to get out that like you truly can't contain it in a
Yeah.
little time frame. And like the first time that we got on a call, it was very much like that of like,
Yeah.
you could see us both like, okay, hold back, let her finish. Because we're both just like, there's so much
I have something
magic
to say to
here.
that. I have something to say to
Yes,
that. Oh my
to
gosh, that's so good.
everything.
You gave that language that I needed. Yes.
Yes.
All
But
of
like
that.
this is how I describe it with my practitioners is I'm like, it's your first language. And just like Harry Potter and Parseltongue, you didn't know you spoke it until you heard it. And you're like, oh yeah, I do that. I speak that. I know that it flows through you instead of I need to like digest the knowledge and turn it into wisdom. You're like, I speak the wisdom fluently. And of course, the human needs to catch up and like study and digest and embody and move through it more and more. But that there is this bioavailability to the resonance of it. Where like I naturally, like just in being, I am absorbing it and it is already in so many ways a part of me. And immediately I was able to see that. And like selfishly, I was like, I want this for me. Like, I want to see your perspective on mine. Like, I am so curious because I can feel, and since Claire Gustinance is my main one, I could taste the purity of your like zone in and like that laser focus and how unique it is to you. That it's not just like getting another Gene Key reading or having someone print the report and tell you what, but your perspective is so unique to you and is such a big part of your soul's blueprint in the translation and the showing people how to digest it and the application. And that's the piece that I don't want to miss is that like you can work with other practitioners, guys, who will explain it to you so that you can understand it. There's a big difference between understanding and an actual integration and application and a deep knowing of like, how do I put that in my day-to-day life and benefit on the regular from it? And I think that is one of the biggest things that stood out about this very long trajectory and path of work that you have that you're already in and that you are called to. And like I saw very far down into the future and have like as the projector had to be very patient and be like, ask me, tell me you want to hear more and more and more about it. Cause like I got so many future visions and was like,
Chris, we can monetize this in so many ways. Like, let me loose, like, let me run. I'm a racehorse who wants to like run the track for you. And it has just been a magical experience to witness you on your soul's path.
My gosh, I just have to take that in for a second. There was just so much in that. And also, you said so much about, there were so many things you said, but the thing that really jumped out to me is basically this, like, how can you actually integrate this information? How can you let it wash over your body and just kind of let it come into you? And that's one of the first things that I say when I hold a session with someone is, even if your logical mind doesn't know what to do with this information, trust that it is being sent down to your cells. Your DNA knows what to do with this. These are active codes that are in your own language. I might have been putting my own language over it, but it is in your own language. This is something that should feel very familiar to you when you hear it, even if you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm laughing so much too, because this is something that I think gets a little bit missed when it comes to human design, is just because you're a projector, so to speak, doesn't mean you don't have any energy. Doesn't mean that you don't, there's no labels that I can actually contain any of the human design energy types. And so it's funny though, because for me, I am a very, very low-key projector. I need so much quiet. I need so much space. I do not want to constantly be doing a million things, and I don't want to be creating a million things. My genius actually flourishes when I'm quiet and to myself and withdrawn. And it's so cool to hear almost the exact opposite. I know that you also love your space and all of that as well too, but just to have this fire underneath you that's like, I'm going to connect this person and this one and build a heart-centered empire. That's what I kind of hear when I speak to you. And I love it because my little projector soul is like, oh, thank God, I'm so tired trying to do everything on my own. I just want to be with my genius, and I want to share this with people, and to have someone else who kind of lights that fire underneath what to do with that. It just really shows how different we all are, but how much we need each other and how much we're designed to need each other in a really beautiful way.
I'm like, I can see within you, well, taste in the field, this like wasted energy thing where like, if you try to do anything that is not that right aligned choice, like you're not the individual who's like, I take a couple steps in this direction, it's not for me. I take a couple steps in that, and then I figure it out like that. You're like, no, 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 no. When I take that first step, it needs to be on par, or I'm not going anywhere else. And I might not even try it again. I might just like, okay, that's not for me. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I see so much, and I can like paint you the vibrational picture where you can do it energetically before you were to try and do it physically. Proof of concept beforehand in the quantum. And I'm like, yeah, buy in. Yes, there you go. I'm like, whenever, it doesn't even have to be like anytime soon, but I'm like, just providing that like energy memory to you. I'm like, you can taste a little amuse-bouche of it, and you're like, that's for me. I like that flavor. I will be snacking on that later. And then when that comes up at a restaurant, you're like, that one, I would like to order that.
That's
I already know I will like it. And then it cleans up all of this like wasted energy for you.
God, 1-3s. I know you're a 1-3 as well too with your profile lines. The 1-3s in my life are just some of my favorites. I have so many of my best friends are 1-3s, and they're just off just experimenting and getting messy and taking all the steps and cleaning them up and figuring out how to refine their power. And I'm just over here watching, and I'm like, get it. That's amazing.
That.
I want to keep watching that.
Osmosis learning. Yes. And it like feeds us so much to know that like I compound my productivity when I share it in that way. And like in doing it in soulpreneurship with collaborators versus like in the corporate structure where you're oftentimes it's siphoned from you, me being in my autonomy and sovereignty and choosing, like finding these people like you and Amy who introduced us, where I'm like, yes, I, from the moment of meeting you, am so ready and willing to like, let me spotlight you, let me shine lights on you, let me connect you with people, and it feeds me, it doesn't deplete me. And like that feels like part of the feminine revolution of like learning this networking in a new way that's not, what can I get from you, while also like falsely presenting that this is mutually beneficial so that we can like trade our cards and do something, but that is so true and authentic and is so goddess driven, of like the goddess in me recognizes the goddess in you and is like, other people should know about this, and like Who needs the hang on? I know, where are you? You need this and you need and this. Oh my God, and I'm seeing some other way for you to get this out to other people. And I'm like, I can't talk fast enough when I consider this connection. So I'm very excited to share it with people.
Oh my gosh, this is literally what we're going to be talking about today with your gene key. It does not surprise me that you have this take on everything and this fire in your heart that wants to connect with other people and drive them to, even like their better life and to be able to attract more money, more service for them, all of that. Like I just feel that in you. And it's literally what we're going to be talking about today with your gene key. It's insane. Doesn't surprise me though.
So let's place this for people. What are we doing today? And how is this also like a service that people get with you? And kind of how, because I'll tell people how I got to like asking for this to be how the podcast is, but how would someone who's like hearing this and going, okay, that's information for her, but like, what is mine? And immediately, I'm telling you guys, within like a minute, you're going to be like, I want one of those. I might not even know what it is or where I would get it from or what to do, but like, I want one of those. Because
Yeah.
like you're saying, it's in a language that your essence, your vibration, your frequency absorbs, even if your logical mind doesn't. And even if somatically you have reactions to it because you have stagnations and blockages in those areas, you might react. But that there is this availability, this like perfect molecular structure size where it absorbs naturally because it is bioavailable for us. So tell us,
Yeah.
how did we get here and what is this?
Okay, so this is actually really interesting. We're going to be going through, I'm going to be sharing my screen with you in a second, and I'm going to be showing you kind of this material where we're going to go through an entire gene key. Now, if you ever pull your gene keys up, if you ever run your chart on the Gene Key website, you'll have kind of this map that shows you where your activations of your genius are, how they tie into your relationships and your dynamics with intimacies with other people and connections, and then how both of those tied together propel you into service to then basically connect your genius in with other people and be of service to this world. And kind of like you, where you're just overflowing with this need to want to raise people up and to share who they are. That is such a gift energy when it comes out. And we're going to actually talk about it today. It's literally the gift we're going to talk about today. It's insane. But this is energy that some people may hold as a defined energy, which means they've got access to it. They've got consistent access to it. But others that don't hold consistent. So if you don't have, we're going to be going through gene key number 51 today. Even if you don't have gene key number 51 or gate 51 in your human design chart, you are still susceptible to the energies of it. And even more so, you might get swept up with the shadow energy of it if you're not aware of what's happening to you. So this is why this information is so good to have. And every time I go through someone else's gene keys that I don't hold, I see where I get influenced by that energy. So it's just as powerful to me than reading some of my own energies. But when you start to go through the energies that belong to you in a way where you have consistent access to them, there's such a responsibility to it because you are also going to be influencing the world that doesn't have that defined. You're going to be influencing the world from that energy. And so this is why I really love gene keys, is because we all hold these frequencies. We all have them. We all have access to them. But how we play with them and reshape them is going to make our world. So we're going to be going through one of your gene keys today, and we're going to be seeing how the shadow and the gift energies are kind of two sides of the same coin. It's the same energy that's inside of your system, but how you play with it and how you redirect your attention and your focus around it is going to wildly shift your reality. So this information is just so special to me because my language is in frequency. I understand frequency. I hear the frequency in people's words. A lot of people that are probably listening to this can kind of feel the frequencies of the world. This gives a language to it. And it makes it more tangible to actually work with rather than just, do I have a high frequency? Do I have a low frequency? That doesn't really matter as much. It matters how you play within your low frequencies and what they actually do for you and how they initiate you.
Yes. I want to make the comparison because a lot of the listeners will understand or have some rooting in human design, but I'm gonna guess that more of them are like, "Ooh, I have," like, maybe I've heard about Gene Keys, maybe I've even seen my report, but the depth is not the same. So let's compare having one of these Gene Keys or gates to defined and undefined centers in human design. Very similar to, like, me, I don't have a defined root. So when my partner who has a defined root chakra is ungrounded or is grounding to something that's like a little jacked up, I am so affected by that. But since I have a defined mind and third eye, if they're going through some craziness in there, I don't get as like messed up in that. I don't get swept up in that. It doesn't affect me. I can see it a lot clearer. And so very similar to what we're talking about in the gene keys of like, even if this one is not on your blueprint, all of us are affected just like the astrology signs and that we are a part of the whole. So I'm excited for everybody to hear this information to first and foremost consider what yours will be. Like, what's that linchpin thing? What's that, oh, springboard thing? What's that, like, this would shoot my arrow forward? That if you understood how to, I love that you use the language of play in it. I often use the language of much more like stringent of like how to navigate it, how to wield it, how to, and I'm like, oh, I love the play in it way more, where it takes the pressure off of like, am I using it incorrectly versus, oh, can I enjoy this so much that even when it is a shadow aspect, am I learning and can I have fun with like, that was a fuck up, that was a misstep, that was like, that was not my best effort, or like my other side of the coin is coming out. How enjoyably can I shift through that and get back to the other side, which is the like golden side of the coin where I like really enjoy, and can I play in both of them? Because life is the totality. It's not, let me figure out how to only be on the golden side of the coin. No, it's in the darkness is where we grow. In the darkness is where we learn. In the darkness is where we have contrast, and thus where we can really love and appreciate the positivity, the higher vibration, the things are like expressed in alignment for ourselves. So I'm excited for people to like hear the specificity of mine. And selfishly, I'm so excited to hear your language or Rosetta Stone interpretation of my own. But I really encourage you guys to consider the twofold aspect of this does affect you, even if it's not on your chart, and then allow your intuition to show you how it will feel for you to like get one of your nuggets of truth that like sometimes one sentence, one little particular one example of the way that you're digesting it with them can change the entire trajectory of your life, of how you use your natural self and skills and even navigate your natural difficulties.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. And I will add one extra little piece to this too, of the kind of playing with the energy rather than like this more
Mhm.
disciplined, you got to navigate it, do all the right things with it. I think why gene keys, why I really love them too, is because their main root is in contemplation and awareness. Once you notice something, it's hard to
Yeah.
not see it anymore. Once you see
Yeah.
something and you've been exposed to it, you can't go back to not seeing it. You can't unsee
Mhm.
it. And so I
Yes.
kind of create these little helper sheets to have people plug back into that kind of goes through the shadow, it goes through the gift and the city energy, which is kind of like the essence that's in both the shadow and the gift. We'll go through that with
Mhm.
some reflective questions and then going through the sphere, which we're going to be doing your pearl today, which is kind of like you said, the linchpin of your
Yes.
entire design. It kind of comes together when all other pieces of your design start to fall into place. It's a really powerful place. And what I really love about this is I never feel the need to give people homework. I never tell them, you've got to do X, Y, Z when you get off of this. And this might be a little bit of a rebellious nature from being a projector forced into things nonstop.
Yes.
But I don't think any of this information needs to be forced into people's faces. If they feel a pull towards learning about a gene key, like I said earlier, you don't have to logically do anything with this information. Your body takes it in. And so I
Mhm.
can trust and I can know that I can actually perform my service to the world without interfering with somebody else's process. And that's been such a huge thing for me to understand and has actually kept me from being of service because I could feel all these little sneaky hidden agendas that I had. So
Yeah.
onely the gene keys actually helped me figure it out where all of my little sneaky hidden agendas were. And it actually paved the way for me to be more of true service in a way that feels aligned and authentic.
Ah,
And truly, it
yes.
is just, yeah, it's not something that has to be forced. It's something that
Mhm.
just continues to evolve within your system. And once you hear some of these words, you're not going to be able to unhear them. And so I trust that they're doing the magic where it's kind of like I can surrender into not having to worry about how somebody took it in, worry about how it's landing with them, worry about if they're, going to do anything with it, if they're practicing it, if anything like that. I just trust that I've done my service and it's going to go into their
Yes.
space and then they can kind of take it from there and I'll be there to kind of help have the conversations around contemplations and keep
Yeah.
holding them as long as they need, but it feels like it's a more hands-off way of letting somebody's process be what it is.
It's the graduate studies of spirituality where you're like, this is a different way of learning. It's
Yeah.
not like the active practice of after you get your astrology reading or after your human design, where you're like, okay, I need to shift, I
Mhm.
need to practice, I need to rewire. This is much more about that, like, oh, can we have this like natural roundtable discussion with our behaviors, with our
For
projections, with
sure.
our partners, with our relationships, and like you're saying, I can't go back to pretending like I don't see or know it. And then it's
Mhm.
just like a part of reality. And you get to choose, how much am I going to face that? How much am I going to include
Mhm.
that? How much like, ooh, natural flow and play do I get to gain from that? And how can I like merge and become one? And it turns into this fluid flow. And that is one of the like steps in spiritual progression where you're like, when you are in that first level of teaching, you're learning right and wrong and right and wrong and right and wrong. And then at some point you graduate to the second level of teachings, which is it's right and wrong for you. And really being
Yes.
able to go into this perspective of like what is right and wrong for me is not necessarily what is right and wrong for other people. And what is right and wrong for me right here, right now, in this like human fractal of like linear time is not the same as what is right and wrong for me at another fractal or even connecting to time in a different way. And like it really does open you up to a whole new perspective of like journey.
Even just working off of what you said, that is the 18th gene key in action. It is literally the shadow energy of judgment, which is this energy of feeling either superior or inferior in how you're seeing the world. And then when you kind of shift that into the higher gift of it, it turns into integrity. You're still judging, but it's coming from this place of, that's just not right for me. And there's nothing else to it. It's not, this is how everything should be. It's not, this is how people need to see my view as the right way to go about things or anything like that. It's literally transforming judgment. It's the same energy. You're still doing the same kind of energy, but the frequency of it shifts. And now it's kind of that same thing of like when I see that judgment of like, ooh, I don't like that. It's not this, that person's wrong for it. It's, ooh, that's not right for me. That's good to know. I love that for me. And you get to use this as kind of a gift from it. Mm-hmm.
Just like how we work jealousy in that area, where you're like,
Yes.
jealousy is a
Yes.
gift, guys. When you
Mm.
go, "Ooh, I want that," or I want to take that from you and have it for me, we get to pause and go, "Okay, thank you. I didn't realize I wanted that so much. I didn't
Yes.
realize that lit me the fuck up. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that that will get me to like make a move. Now, can I like come back into a regulated state and respond so that it's not like little kid snatch that toy from you just because I like
Yes.
it, but like, okay, where do I get one of those? Do I make that inside me? Do I go get it? Do I prioritize it? And you start running through that pathway. And I think this is such a great way to set up to like open up and show them the, the screen share that we have of the shadow and the gift and like in its full city essence. So let's get into it.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Me
Okay.
too.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Well, so what we're going to be, what you requested for today was going through your pearl. Now, before we go into your actual G key, I wanted to just read this little tiny spot that kind of explains what the pearl is. So this is within your gene keys chart. When you pull that chart from the gene key website, this is kind of an energy that is It reflects back your alignments with the rest of the energies within your chart. Your pearl gets activated when you start to understand how your genius flows, how your relationships show up to mirror back your genius, how all of that kind of works in together. And this is like the linchpin of your service. This is when all of this comes together, and it's what kind of attracts you into your prosperity. Now, I say prosperity over wealth, even though we'll probably say wealth a few times today, because prosperity is this energy of surrendering into exactly knowing and trusting that you're getting exactly what it is that's needed for your journey. Whereas wealth can sometimes be a little bit more distorted, and it can look like, let me just keep kind of taking as much as I can. Let me keep attracting. Let me keep bringing stuff into my space without really knowing how to integrate it or how to ground into it. So prosperity doesn't necessarily mean that you won't have a lot of wealth. It just turns into more of a trusting the flow of how money comes into your space just a little bit more rather than thinking you know what's best, so to speak.
Yeah. That one, the Gene Keys teaches me all the time of like that separation between what your human wants and what your human
Mhm.
thinks is success or wealth or prosperity, and then what true is. And if you trust for a long enough, patient enough time, you see it all come together and you're like, oh, yeah, I actually would pick that. I actually would prefer that. But my limited human over here at the
Yes.
beginning without all the information, because your human can't take it all in, has
Mhm.
opinions at first, and you're like, "Okay, let me see, how do I get back to that surrender and trust place?"
Yeah, exactly. And it's
Yeah.
so interesting too. I feel like one of the biggest patterns that I notice in people, and I'm wondering if you see this as well too, is this there's such a movement of energy within the system. And it's like, I need to make all of this happen right now. And so we start to kind of look at it from this, like, oh my God, I see this mountain. And even before you and I jumped onto this, we were talking about how far all of this reach could go and how we could roll out launches and just all of these things. And it's like this gigantic mountain. Whereas these kind of pull you back into yourself of like, it's just the next step. It's
Yeah.
just the next step. And then more information will become apparent to you. You might have thought you wanted this whole idea over here, but actually, now that you've taken a few steps, you see that it's actually like this instead. And so this kind of helps to slow you back down and to fall back into that rhythm with life rather than thinking it has to be this gigantic mountain that you make all at once kind of a thing.
Yeah, way less focus on, like, do, and those, like, step forward
Mhm.
over here, step forward over here, step forward over here, and what is my alignment and taking the next right step.
Yeah. And this is the last little piece that I'll say to this before we dive into it is sometimes that knowing when you trust and surrender, it's coming from this place of the universe, God, source, however you want to call it, whatever you define it as, is actually regulating your nervous system as you go. Because if you attracted everything into your space that you thought you wanted right at this moment, your nervous system might have a field day with that and not be able to
Yes.
actually hold it. It could
Yes.
lead to a psychotic break. It could lead to so many things. So when it feels like, and your main brand is all about patience, I don't know if you know about Gene Key 5 very much, but it's literally all about the surrender into trusting the timing is working with what it is that you want to create. And this is especially true for people who have a back and forth of like, I want to make this, ooh, but I'm not good enough. I need to learn more, but like, oh, I'm ready and I should take my step, but I'm not there yet. You're constantly reiterating to the universe that your nervous system isn't ready to hold that yet. And so it's going to kind of pull back from things coming into your space because it's trying to give you a little bit of a regulation with it. So, as much as you accelerate, the universe is going to meet you with that timing. But if you think that something is being withheld from you, or you're not there yet, or you're behind in some kind of a way, it's kind of operating from the shadow aspect of thinking that you know what's best and thinking that everything should be coming into your space right in that moment that you want to create it.
Yeah, patience is just like waiting for the invitation, which I feel like interweaves in many ways with patience of like it's always at the top of the list of like I know when something is for me, like very, very, very for me, beyond a shadow of a doubt, when I have an extreme amount of patience with it, where it's
Mm,
less work. I don't have to work at being patient. Like, for instance, with my partner, I have an insane amount of patience. With my child, I have an insane amount of patience. With horses, I have an immense amount of patience. And I'm like, there's never a moment where I question if these things are for me because my patience flows through me so naturally. Whereas, like, you get me in a car and I do not have patience all the time naturally. I'm just like, and then I work at that, and I have these beautiful little pockets and moments of like, oh, I don't even have to try to be patient. My natural patience is manifesting. And then I anchor that. I actually have a specific anchor point on my body where I anchor it so that other times when I'm struggling with patience, I can stimulate that anchor point and kind of flood my system with that perfectly aligned, bioavailable, again, patience, where I'm like, this is what it feels like. Okay, okay, remind, remind, remind. Okay, apply it to road rage.
I love this so much. And this is such a good example, too. See, we're going to just talk our little faces off this entire time. I can feel that. But this is where it's a really good example of impatience is a shadow frequency, patience is a gift. They both kind of play off of each other. It's one of the more simple ways to
Yeah.
see a shadow and a gift energy paired side by side because they're literally exact opposite of each other, so to speak. But you hold this energy. So while I go through Gene Key 5, I relate to it. And I also don't feel like it's something that I constantly access. It's like oh, this isn't here for me. I just trust it'll get there. But if I'm in somebody else's space who isn't very grounded in that, then all of a sudden their impatience or their agendas that they have behind things or needing to make things happen or going into high gear, I can actually be affected pretty strongly by that. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel so behind. Something is wrong. And then I
Yeah.
get back into my own space and away from that energy. And I'm like, oh, nothing's wrong. I'm right on time. Everything's fine. But it's like this energy where you are here to work with it on such an intimate level. So you understand these ins and outs of it like crazy. Whereas I definitely understand it and I get to experience it, but it's not the main focus of where my frequencies go. It's just kind of this built-in, oh, yeah, I know what this is kind of a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Really grounding down so many of these like aspects of how this system works, not just the specificity of it, but like how does the structure, the like overview really work for us so that people can understand what is gene keys, similar to the way that like we grew up knowing what the horoscope in the back of Cosmo magazine was, and that is not
Oh, yeah.
astrology. Where you're just like, no, let's really understand what this system has to offer and what this language, what this perspective can really do for you.
Yeah. Oh, that's so well said.
Thank
So
you.
the little part that I kind of wanted to read around the pearl today before we jump into your gene key with it is basically it's the quietest of all the spheres. So this is not a sphere that I would take somebody through as their first sphere because there's so much to understand that helps support this sphere. So even if somebody's like, "Oh, I want to make more money," understanding your gifts and understanding your relationships to people and your agendas behind those relationships is going to be the quickest way that you will understand how to navigate money and prosperity. So this is a sphere that says it doesn't ask you to strive harder, dream bigger, or chase anything outside of yourself. Instead, it invites you to slow down and return to what's essential. So, kind of like you were saying, the less that you're pushing, the less that you're trying to make something happen, the more that you're just settling into your being. This sphere is going to naturally arise and make you more magnetic when it comes to finances and your services that you want to offer for this world. So, without going too much more into that, because it's good information, but also the gene key is kind of where it's really at right now. Your pearl is gene key number 51, which is known as thunder. And I actually really love this because I have a friend who holds this gene key, and I've nicknamed her just over the years that we've known each other, Tati the Thunder. And without even knowing what this gene key was really at the time, it was just like, I don't know, Tati the Thunder makes sense. She's just got this
Yeah.
energy that's just very, oh my gosh, it can just like change the room in an instant. There's this authority with it that you just want to pay attention to, and it can kind of shock your system, but in such a beautiful way. And I absolutely love her friendship. But I was laughing as I was putting this together for our session today because I was just like, thunder is just such a powerful energy.
Yeah.
It is the path of heart leading heart. And the little quote that I have here is, it's not possible for a human being to awaken without first fully stepping into their creative independence. This
Wow.
is just from someone who holds this energy. What does that represent to you?
My goodness. The like to awaken means that you have had to come to yourself in a way. And like when we awaken, we come back to this oneness and we like re-merge so to speak. Like when you have your awakening, a lot of people express that it's like, oh, I met God, I saw God, I returned to oneness, I experienced one love. But to prepare for that, you almost have to like separate from the parent to then choose to come back to the parent. So, like, creative independence is like, let's go to fucking college. Like, did you explore yourself? Did you push yourself? Did you party a little too much? Did you do this over here? Like, did you have your college experience to separate from the family, to separate from home base, to then when you come back for, break or after you graduate, to really appreciate and understand, like, those first moments where like you see your parent or parental figure or guardian or mom or something it as a full human, as a full being outside of being your parent, and you're like, wow. I
Yes.
understand you in such a different way as like an individual being, where I feel like a part of awakening is to understand yourself as the separate so that you can understand yourself as part of the whole.
Ooh, gosh, that's so well said. I'm going to love to hear your language over this. So, this gene key shows up as the shadow of agitation. Now, something to keep in mind here as we go through this, we're not trying to not have the shadow energy. We're not trying to outgrow our shadow energy or to get away from it or to make it something different. There's a very interesting process that works where your shadow is also going to fuel your gift. And it's going to happen in a way where it's not a linear process. It's going to be something that might happen again and again and again. And then you understand a different layer to it, and then a different layer to it. And the more that you understand the shadow and the more that you keep diving into it and keep noticing it, even in subtle ways, it might not show up as loud as what we're going to read, but it might show up very subtly. The more that you catch those little moments, the more it's going to fuel your understanding of your gift. So I never try to get away from my shadow state when I'm back in it. It's never, I'm not regressing. It's not that I've missed something. It's more of this energy of, oh, something inside me wants to deepen and mature. What is
Yeah.
this? What is this thing that we're playing with here? And your shadow of agitation, the world's shadow of agitation, but you happen to hold this one very specifically, is the shock before the shift. This is a restless energy that builds when you've forgotten that you're safe in life's hands. This frequency, it's going to feel like constant nervous tension. It's a body on edge. It doesn't matter how safe you feel in your mind. There's some part of your body that doesn't feel very safe, and it's going to show up with like this tightness. And this is this is a very collective energy of a deep fear that something bad could happen at any moment, because we witness bad things happening all over the place. We see other people go through these shocks that are almost kind of like, a hurricane blows their house down, somebody they know gets shot, something that's like a very deep internal shock. All of us are kind of on standby, just waiting for that bad thing to happen on a very unconscious level. And that's kind of how it's going to be held in the system. And it can also show up as overreacting to small triggers or startling easily. I can feel how tense I am when someone walks into the room and I jump about 10
Yes.
feet and it's like this, oh, and then I'm like, oh, I got a lot of tightness happening. This is the shadow of agitation when it's active inside of your system.
That is a forever experience for me, coupled with the like history of having neglect and abuse in my past. But like still to this day, regularly, like my partner is so mindful of it, where like anytime I have headphones on, they're like, honey, 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 like just trying in some way, shape, or form to get my attention. And it doesn't matter how good of a job they do. Like
Yep.
I am like, oh
Always
my
that
God,
startle.
every
Yep.
time it comes out, every time. So like that is so deeply true. And there are like when I'm in my like priestess space, I know when someone's coming around the corner so far beyond when there's
Yeah.
any sound. And so like when I've opened and I've grounded and I'm here. And when I'm in my present space, like for instance, when I'm on a call with a client, I know when they're coming up the stairs. I know when they're walking around. I
Mhm.
know when they're going into their own session or when they're relaxing. And it's not associated with, oh, I can hear them, but like I am aware and I am
Yeah.
present and I am calm and I am in deep connection and understanding. So I deeply connect with that being the like when you're not in your yes.
Mhm.
It's very startling and you're kind of always waiting
Yeah.
for that. I am looking for the like the shit all the time when I'm in that like not aligned space. When I'm not in flow, I am looking for the difficulty, the drama, the trauma, the like
Mhm.
big bad wolf thing.
Yeah. Oh, God. And that's so well said, too, because this is also an example of how much we can watch out for these things in other people. So if you startle someone else, it's like, oh, they've got some agitation moving through their body. It's not necessarily something you ever have to fix or do anything with, but it gives you more perspective of where
Yeah.
their nervous system is, where their energy is, and it helps you approach it from almost a different angle. Kind of very similarly to how you said that your partner will like make it a whole thing to try to I do the same thing for mine as well too, and I'm like, "Let me just, like, sneak my arm into the frame and
Yes.
let me just try to get their attention without startling their poor nervous system." So it's a way to
Yes.
also look out for each other when we notice these cues. These are cues. They're not that doesn't mean that anything's gone wrong. It doesn't mean that anything is imbalanced in your system. It's a cue that's letting you know there's a different way to be with this energy and to pay attention to it because it's trying to deepen something within you. So it's
Yeah.
very Oh, it's so worthwhile to understand these cues because there's 64 of these gene keys. If you can imagine, if you can start to get familiar with some of these cues, you can start to navigate where people are without even knowing. You know, they
Yes.
haven't said it out loud, they haven't, but you can feel it to some level. It really increases the compassion, I feel like, with how you work with
Yeah.
people in that.
And
Yeah.
it grows our ability to do our unique work for more people, once again, in that
Yeah.
bioavailable way. This is just so much support and perspective. And how do I utilize my natural gifts, my natural like perspective and consciousness and what I have brought inside of myself? Because many of us who listen to this, we are on this path of being a practitioner, of offering our gifts to the world, ideally getting very, very paid for it. I know some of you are still in the process of like just getting the gifts out there. But this type of work, not just gene keys, but in the way that we digest and utilize this, I think it's so important that you're like spotlighting and reminding. It's not about trying to get rid of the negative, the
Mm,
shadow. We're not trying to get rid of our shadow selves. We're trying to deeply integrate and understand and use this knowledge as wisdom to take it in
yeah.
so deeply that we know how to navigate, how to play, how to wield in a way that offers more flow and that,
Mhm.
especially with this one, offers more regulation so that my
Mhm.
human can start to catch up with my priestess. My body can
Yes.
handle what my soul naturally is like, yeah, we got it.
Oh, I love that. It's so well said. Yeah, there's kind of this level of like I think with especially this is such an important message with new age spirituality right now because a lot of that is being distorted into a
Yes.
lens of you have to be above being human,
Yes.
almost in a way of like
Yes.
like even with the way labels get thrown around, that person has really toxic energy. Ooh, that person is bad vibes. Things like that where it's like you're not actually above being human. When you understand these shadows, you dive deeper into being human and you can integrate that priestess with your human. And whenever you try to get away from these energies, you're actually causing more of a fracture inside of yourself. There's more of a division. It's kind of hard for that priestess energy to come in when there's such a division in your system. So understanding these shadows and that there's something to play with and there's something to work with and deepen your gifts around is how you kind of create this unity within your system and unity with other people.
Mm. I just did an episode on awakening from the awakening that speaks so much to that with Lindsay, like where
Yes.
we were talking about like there comes a time when the up and out is not what you're aiming for anymore. You gotta get back down and
Mhm.
in. We gotta start bringing these massive spiritual awakening experiences into our bodies and allowing our bodies to hold them so that we can navigate differently. You have to live your life, not always just be up in the awakening space. And so I think that
Yes.
is really profound, and that being able to use the shadows and understand the shadows and witness them as cues allows the integration to be so much more efficient and fluid.
I really feel like there's such a piece to this as well too of a that kind of like it's almost like you have this awakening and then like the second awakening that comes where you're like
Yes.
they're chasing enlightenment. They're chasing this like let me be an ascended master. Let me be this for the people. And when you actually really understand these natures, and this is what the gene keys I really love also offers, is those seem like extraordinary states or something to aspire to. Like a lot of people are like, ascension, you want to ascend,
Yes.
you want to do this, but kind of like how you were saying, those are actually really ordinary states. And they are at the result of being so ordinarily human.
Yes.
And that's kind of the crazy piece of this is we think we have to keep on trying to better ourselves and keep being this and keep being that. But really, it's the more that you can just trust that you're just an ordinary human and just allow
Yes.
yourself to be in that space. And sometimes it feels like boredom. Sometimes it feels uncomfortable. Sometimes it's this and that and da 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 da. But it's just fully being human. That's what we're after. We're not after ascension. We're not after enlightenment, so to speak, whenever we're kind of having our human experience. That was a very basic way of saying that, but
Yeah. We're all just aiming to learn how to get back to the most present state. Like you are incarnated in this body on this planet at this time and being here fully, being able to witness here fully is the ceremony in every moment. You do not need the medicines, the tools, the psychedelics, all these things out there. Now, those things can be very supportive to help you understand, oh, wait, it is just the presence and utilizing things like the gene keys, like all of these tools to help us to understand that. But then it is about, okay, now can I replicate that inside my own self? Am I able to be present with the shadow cue as beautifully, as lovingly, as wonderfully as the gift and as the city and all of like, can I experience this presence and this peace and this enjoyment of my journey in every moment, whether it's at the top of the mountain or at the summit or at the deepest point of the valley.
or you're just cleaning a litter box one day and you're like, this is just as spiritual as if I was on ayahuasca.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. So this energy as well too, the frequency of agitation. It can also show up as this is a huge one. And you actually mentioned this earlier before we jumped on this call. But when you're at the shadow state of this, you're in a very selfish survival based nature. The shadows are all very selfish survival based natures. And that's okay. That's what we needed at one point. We're just evolving past that now. But it's when you're in the frequency of agitation, it's also competing to feel worthy, validated, or superior to others. It's kind
Mm,
of like you'll notice these people that really hold on to the agitation state are either, and this is not just exclusive, you can be like a huge sports fan and not be holding this, but the people who are drawn to this are really into like sports or business, something that's very competitive in nature, something that is it kind of like brings out this state within them, something that
yeah.
feels very familiar. So when it's at the lower energy of it, it's going to be like you're competing against other people. You're trying to be better than them. And when this transforms, we'll see as we go into the gift, it's going to look like actually turning that competition back in onto yourself rather than it being
Mm,
directed out towards other people. It's you start to compete to yourself. You're like,
yeah.
how can I evolve this? How can I be more this? How can I unleash this? How can I be more unlimited? So that competition gets put back inwards in a way that actually serves the collective rather than hurts it in some capacity.
Mm. I see this so much inside my own self where I'm like, I have been very focused on pulling the competition from anyone else and being like better than self of like more for me of like especially pulling back that jealousy of like anytime I see someone who might be more successful or signing more clients or doing it with what I perceive as more ease or handed to them, I'm like, okay, what of
Yeah.
that do I want? I'm not competing with them. They're so different. I have no idea what they've been through, what it really looks like on the back end. And then can I consistently move into collaboration with other people in this collective, in this industry who I find to be very integrous and focus just on that and not focus on like who I would want to take away the spotlight from or who I find to be dangerous or who I find to not be informed or we
Yeah.
see that a lot in the wellness and spiritual industry in general of like there are so many people who are weaponizing great marketing and sales who are not delivering and I
Mhm.
can run myself crazy by like worrying about that and wanting to take away from that and I'm like that's such a waste of energy. It's can I elevate who I desire to elevate, who I really, really believe in, and can I be competing only with myself? And like I didn't have that language. And that's so helpful to be able to like say it in such a succinct way that I can come back to it as a flip instead of like a whole 20-minute moving around of like, yep, yep, just compete with yourself, get better than yourself,
Mhm.
use that fire in your own lane.
And I've already seen your gift unfold with this. We haven't gotten to the gift energy yet, but I've even seen it in the way that you and I haven't known each other for very long, but it was just this instantaneous, you respected my rhythm. You respected and gave me space to be where I needed to be before we could actually collaborate and have some, connection time together on this podcast call. And not only that, but you so quickly came in and said, here's where I see this going. Here's where I see this happening. And it's this very beautiful energy of raising up other heart led leaders instead of it
Yes.
being like, well, I'm just going to leave everyone else behind and I'm going to be the heart led leader. I'm going to be
Mhm.
that person and I think when a lot of us are coming into our gifts, especially that have a very spiritual nature to them, there's this energy that we are actually healing we're used to not being seen. We're used to not having our voice respected. There's so much of, just
Yes.
the general like stuff that sensitives really experience. And so I notice myself in this constantly where it's like this feeling of like, oh, that person's more gifted in what they do. Maybe what I'm doing, I shouldn't be doing it anymore. Or that person obviously is doing this with more ease. What am I missing? And like you
Yes.
said, you can take those energies and nothing's wrong with that. You can assign it to being something's wrong and, turn that back in on yourself and it doesn't feel very good. Or you can look at that as like, thank you for showing me that there's obviously an easier way to do this. What is that easier way? How can I bring this into myself? And like, what does make me different from everybody else? But then
Mhm.
it allows me to see everybody else's gift without that comparison lens and just for the true nature of who they are.
Yeah, I love really
Yeah.
being able to like utilize my gifts in this way where even with just knowing someone for such a short amount of time, if you're talking about something that really lights you up, I can pick the like magnitude moment. And that was something that we got to share in our
Yeah.
first conversation, like outside of recording the podcast, of just like, this is what I see you get really excited about. And that
Yeah.
excites me. And so, like,
Yeah.
that's where I want to focus is this thing. And then I have this natural gift of being able to, okay, here's how you can make money. And here's how other people can know that. And here's how you can connect it. And here's like 50 steps in front of you. Oh, wait, did you invite me? Okay. I'm like, there was an invitation in there somewhere, right?
I felt like there was an invitation. It felt pretty open to
Right?
me.
Your excitement was the invitation, but I have this
It was.
natural ability to like, I am
Yes.
such an illuminator that I respond to the lumens so well, where I'm like, "Oh, that lit up." And, like, have
Mhm.
you yourself witnessed the difference in your vibration when you touch, get near, talk about, even, like, bring that up in your own mind and heart? Because, like, I feel the wattage in that.
And even think about this in the terms of this shock before a shift. The shock is not a bad thing.
Yes.
And when we look at this through the gift lens, we're going to see that it's more of an initiation. And you have that shock factor to you that's like, I was very open with you that like, I've been in a little bit of a winter phase for the last, oh God, like 3 or 4 months now. It's been a deep one for me. It's been a
Yeah.
pullback from everything. Every time I try to take a step forward, all the doors shut around me. And it's like, got it. That wasn't the right way. I really need to go inwards and be with myself. And when you and I met, it was like this shock that happened to my system of like oh my God, I do want that. Yeah, no, I want to be
Yeah.
absurd. Oh God, no, I want that. And it was like this weird feeling that overcame my body from just being in your presence. And it wasn't like you made me do anything. You weren't leading me or telling me how to be. It was just your natural energy that kind of shocked my system into, I got to move. I got to do the things now, but like in a good way, in an aligned way, not in a pressured way. And you naturally kind of embody that. We haven't even gone to the gift yet. We're barely even through the first part of the shadow. And it's like, I already see so much of that in you from my own very brief encounter with you. And if there's anything that these gene keys show, it's that you naturally have a lot of gifts operating that you're probably unaware of, that you're not even looking at with how you influence the people around you. And so when you have more of the verbiage to put to this, you really get to fine tune it and you really get to play with it and you really get to say, oh, I know when I'm in this gift now and I get to be exactly like this with it because it feels so good to me. So when you have this language, it helps you reshape it and play with it just a little bit more in
It's
a
also
conscious way.
just very helpful to hear the language of the shock before the shift because so many people who are not seeking the shocked before their shift or not seeking a shift are being shocked by me and don't like it
Mhm.
and feel as if it's something that I'm doing to them. And so anybody
Yeah.
who doesn't receive witch, priestess, healer, oracle, seer, seeker in a positive light, who has a like, oh, that's bad, that's wrong, that's demonic, that's negative, that's anti my religion, they receive the shock as like shock therapy and like I'm doing it to
Mhm.
them and like it's intentional and like it's dark or black magic and people respond very intensely to it. And so
Yeah.
just this awareness of knowing that like that is just a part of who and what I am and people's reactions to
Mhm.
double down on the let's not take it personal and know that like
Mhm.
I've always had the experience of when I'm for you, I'm really fucking for you. And so
Yep.
like you're saying, I shocked you and you even in the experience of being shocked are like, yes, I want that. I mean, like I need to recover and I need to figure out and it might be some time, but like I want that. And other people are like, I don't want that ever again. Please go
Yeah.
away and like
Yes.
disappear. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's really easy for me to be like, okay, bye. And other times it's like my partner's family. And I'm like, I can't
But
go
wait,
anywhere. Like,
yeah, like, I don't wanna be
sorry.
inauthentic, like, I'm
Yes,
here, like, I
yes,
think this is also where the invitation is so important as a projector, so important. It feels like it's something that's, like, restricting you when you think
yes,
about it in that kind of a way or when you feel it see it from that perspective, but from, like, a, "This is actually helping you," it's allowing you to not waste your energy with the people who
yes,
aren't ready for that shock. You can still
yes,
be you, and if people get shocked around you, that's on them, and it's their own process they've gotta figure out. But that invitation of
yes.
really waiting for that energy to be received then gets in there and it just rocks systems awake. Like it's literally the gift or the city energy is awakening. Like it's
Mhm.
literally something that will shock somebody into a completely different state of being if
Yes.
they're ready for it. And if
And
not, it'll feel like interference.
that is so often what clients come to me for without even having the language
Hmm.
and like the
Yeah.
massive trajectory shifts of like I worked in corporate and now I'm a solopreneur. I skipped over entrepreneur and just went all the way there. I didn't like I've had so many people who have worked with me who are like I didn't believe in God, now I believe in God and have a relationship with God. And like I didn't think I was gifted at all and wanted to come to you to utilize your gifts and now I'm a practitioner. And like I'm talking in a couple
Hmm.
weeks, in a couple months, in what linear time would define as a very short amount of time to have a complete transformation, alchemical experience through that shock in a very supported way of like, I'm not
Hmm.
shocking you and then leaving you out. Like, it is a very intentional container of alchemy that is so focused on you and your specific way and need to be seen, to be held, to be supported. And I know you got to see and experience those pieces so seamlessly, so fast in just short amounts of time of like, I naturally adapt to what is the best way for you to be seen? What is the best way for you to be
Hmm.
held? What is the best way for you to be supported? Even if you don't know how to articulate that.
Yeah. God, such a like the essence of a projector. That is literally what projectors are here for is to see other people. And when it's done in a way where it's with consent and respect and reverence for their own process, kind of like how you're saying, and you hold them in it, you can shock them. There's nothing wrong with being shocked. It is literally an energy that we all need and that moves evolution. But when you know
Mhm.
how to work with that energy, it becomes something that becomes sacred. It becomes something that you hold somebody in so beautifully rather than, and we'll see as we go through this, rather than just kind of like dropping a bomb in somebody's space and then leaving and
Yeah.
letting them struggle with it. Like
Yeah,
that
that
would
was
be a little
college
bit more
me.
of a selfish energy. Yes,
That
I've
was me in
also found
college.
myself in that
See?
sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was like, I just want to get a rise because no one's paying attention to me anyways, and I feel so unseen and so bitter. That projector energy can get so compounded
Yes.
into saying the exact right thing to hurt somebody's system, saying exact right
Yes.
thing to really rock somebody and then leave them in that. And then you're like, I got seen
Oops.
in some kind of
Yeah.
capacity. Even if it's unconscious, it's not malicious. Usually a lot of the time it's just coming from this deeply hurt place.
Yeah.
And
When
when
you
you
use your sight
understand,
in a mean way and
yes,
you're like, "Ooh," but I mean,
yes,
like,
and
it's
you felt
true.
that.
And, like,
But
I
it's
had
true.
to my college lesson that my college boyfriend taught me that, like, truly was the biggest lesson that I took away from college, which is insane because I, like, got a degree. Honesty without tact is just mean.
It's just mean.
Because I had
Yeah.
gotten to this point of, like, having to go from being like, I lied so much when I was a child with, like, my parents' divorce and telling different story and, like, keeping them in separate places and, like, with mediation and with therapists and with the court that, like, I honestly didn't know the difference between a truth and a lie for an extended period of time in childhood, and, like, not being safe and being neglected and being abused and, like, all of these things that I got to this point in college where I was like, "Okay, I am radically authentic." Like, I am so honest, and yet it was just mean because I wasn't being honest for the, like, support and purpose. I was being honest to the point of like, "Well, it's honest. Well, it's honest. I don't have to be responsible for what I'm saying because it's just so honest." And he taught me the
Yes.
lesson of honesty without tact is just mean. And I like to this
Yeah.
day, that one comes back all the time because as a projector, the bitterness, you can slice and yet you can
Ooh.
see. Like you can see, I can
Yeah.
see your deepest, darkest, most like visceral woundings. And like in my shadow aspect, if I'm just like, you've dysregulated or you've been really, for me, it's like bigots and homophobes. When you are horrible in that way to me, I would like, yeah, and like, okay, we can graduate beyond that. Honesty without tact is just mean. And just because I in my like youth was like, well, you deserve it, doesn't. And I like that took quite some time to like move on out
Yep.
of there.
Oh, yeah. Mine
Yeah.
is very similarly. I've got guidance as one of my gifts for my purpose. Literally, guidance is what I'm here to learn and like share with the world. And the lower energy of that is division. And so
Yeah.
I could feel where I was in that same state of I thought that I was guiding somebody, but really what I was doing was causing more of a division within them because it's like that shock to the system. If it's not received or it's not invited in, it can feel like poison, not medicine. And I think that's the biggest thing with projectors a lot of the time is we mistake our medicine for someone else's medicine when that could actually feel like poison to them. And so really waiting for that invitation, really waiting to be brought in to shock their systems awake is kind of like it's like a built-in protection mechanism from the universe. Like, don't waste your energy. Keep conserving that energy. Keep doing what you do. Keep feeling out who you are and really becoming who you are. And when the time is right, that little bomb is going to shake an entire spiral, a fractal, a network of people awake because of how you drop it. So much
Uh,
more potent. Yeah.
yeah.
Keep going.
Yes.
Keep going. Okay. All right. Oh my gosh, I love that we're just right here still.
Right.
So the other way that this frequency can feel is pushing ahead to prove your value, but without purpose. So a big part of the shadow state is also being disconnected from that higher purpose, that higher force that's supporting you. And it's kind of this attitude of I got to do it alone, or this ego of I have to keep proving my worth. I have to keep pushing. I have to keep trying and striving in some kind of a way, but it's not connected to anything. So it just actually feels like there isn't really an agenda to the chaos in a way, so to speak. And agitation arises from a deep distrust in life's unfolding. Instead of letting life carry you, you try to outrun it or hide from it. You may either withdraw entirely, sinking into depression, or react recklessly, chasing stimulation just to feel something. And at its core, the shadow reveals a portal. Shock is either a descent into fear or an opportunity to awaken. So this is a really big thing as well, too. It is, and this little key insight down here, agitation isn't meant to destroy you, it's meant to initiate you. The chaos you feel is the call to wake up. So when this energy is moving through your system and you're noticing some of these cues that we mentioned, it's not to hinder you in some capacity, which I think a lot of people will mistake their shadow energy as something that hinders them. But it's actually this portal where you see this agitation, you see this fear inside of you, and then you use that fear to evolve. You use that
Yeah.
little bit to meet it with your heart, to be a little bit more open with it, to be a little softer, to be a little bit gentler with it. Or if you continue to react to it, you're going to keep yourself in this repetitive cycle. So it's like you're not really taking this portal to evolve. And it's almost like if I think of it like in a circle, like sometimes we just circle energy and over again, we just keep repeating patterns. When you use something as a portal, it becomes a spiral and you shift
Yeah.
up an octave. So it's kind of like this is asking you to keep shifting up an octave. And if you don't hear it, or you don't see it, or you don't respond to it, and you just keep reacting, you're just going to keep yourself kind of cycling around. So every time you're in agitation, it's literally asking you, what do you want to do with this? Do you want to shift up? Do you want to stay where you are? And that's it.
My membership is called the Spiral Path.
Oh my God, of course it is.
So it used to be waters and deep waters and waters, the tide coming in and out and honoring the tide coming in and out and the waters of self. And then at some point I was like, oh, that is just the circle. And now it's time
Yeah.
to ascend into divinity and descend into humanity and integrate in that spiralic
Hmm.
process. That
Oh
and
my
my
God.
membership just this year went to the spiral pack.
That's amazing. It doesn't
Yeah,
surprise me one bit. Man.
yeah.
The
So
synchronicities
on
always
point.
they blow my mind, but they don't blow my mind. I'm like, of
Yes.
course, that makes
You're
total
like, I'm
sense.
expecting it, but still it blows
Yeah,
my mind when
but
I hear
still,
it.
because it's so cool every
Yes.
time.
I love
I don't know if you can see this. I don't have my camera as much there, but can you see the tattoo?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
I can.
it's a unilome, and so I actually have always thought about this in the terms of, oh, I'm just in a spiral right now. Which way is it
Yes.
taking me? And that's
Yes.
always been whenever I get very stuck in my state of agitation or other shadow states. It's like, ooh, where is this actually going to take me? What part of the spiral am I stuck in right now? And
Yes.
just literally looking at a visual sometimes helps me to reground into it.
Yeah, a portal to what? A portal to what? I'm looking
Portal
for
to
the
what?
what is this a portal to instead of just struggling
Mm-hmm.
in the portal. Because like, the birth canal is that portal, and, like, as someone who has
Yeah.
rebirthed themselves many times in ceremony, it is a scary, overwhelming, like, "Oh my god" space, and yet when
Yep.
you acknowledge and recognize, "Oh, I'm just in the birth canal, I'm in the portal, I'm being rebirthed," you can flow with it, and just like in childbirth, when you, like, come out of the front brain and sink into the deepest primal like, I was toning my uterus inside my bath temple, and I got to this point where I was like, "It is no longer painful, I am one with this experience," and that is truly the spiral path of like, I'm up and I'm down and I'm back and I'm forward and I'm just in this deep flow, but it's more than just that circle. It's more than just the wave. It is the
Mm-hmm.
spiral.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, I love that so much. And it literally goes back to this line up here of a instead of letting life carry you, try to outrun it or hide from it. So, like what you're describing feels like you're letting life carry you. You're
Yeah.
co creating with it, you're working with it rather than like this tension of, oh, I'm experiencing that. I don't want that. I shouldn't be feeling this anymore. This shouldn't be happening to me. And the more we grow and the more we evolve, I've noticed this pattern in people that even though they really understand themselves and are really kind of at one with themselves, there's this reluctance when they express a shadow state again of like I should
Yes.
be better than this. I should. And I
Yes.
think this actually goes along with, we're going to talk about why this is so important with it being aligned in your pearl today, because there's a question I came up with that says, yeah, have you mistaken leadership for being unshakable when your true power
Mm.
lies in letting others witness your honest initiation?
Whew. I could do, like, a year's worth of content on that alone. Like, how many
Yeah.
times have you tried to only show the perfection, only show the magic, only show the
Hmm.
priestess in her fullness, in her leading others, in her, "I've
Hmm.
got it, I can carry it all." But the reason that someone hires me as a priestess is that I have been able to lead and carry myself
Yeah.
from the deepest depths. That, like, I have gone so far down that I can meet you in your depth and help and support and see and hold you. But if I'm never sharing how deep
Hmm.
I've gone down because I'm only showing you up here, you will never
Hmm.
witness me in my authority.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's been a practice that I've had. When I take my breaks from being online, I make sure that I'm practicing who I'm embodying in my day-to-day life constantly. And so when I run into people, everyone knows me. I am such a hermit. I'm a 6'2" profile line. So like I am a deep hermit and like I will withdraw and isolate like nobody's business. And I will live in that isolation very happily for quite some time. I'm always called back out. I always need my people. But when I go out, when I'm in hermit mode, I don't shy away from, like, I practice this in such a basic, subtle way. But when someone asks me how I am, I don't lie. And I don't just say,
Yes.
I'm fine. Everything's great. Ah, it's okay. Ah, this has been a hard week. I'm like, oh my God, I am deep in my process right now. And honestly, feeling out feels like a struggle at the moment. Like, I'm having a hard time even connecting in this conversation. It's a little overwhelming to my system. Like, I don't shy away from that kind of talk because I don't want to be seen as someone on a pedestal. I don't want to be seen as someone who operates from this really high place and that people are gravitating towards. And that's going to happen regardless when you're in this work and you're an embodiment of it. And it's actually kind of a very divine process because when someone gets disappointed in someone that they've looked up to or put on a pedestal, that's actually a really spiritual way of them reclaiming their
Yes.
own empowerments. And
Yeah.
so it is actually really cool when people get disappointed in you because you're like, yes, take back your own power. Like, do something
Mhm.
with this. Don't look to me, look to your own process. But
Yes.
I don't shy away from my imperfections or my flaws. Like, I always want to share them as well, too. Kind of like how you were
Yeah.
saying.
I
Hmm.
love that.
Okay, so I know you're familiar with this, but just so I can kind of share it with the people listening, the shadow state has two different states to it, kind of like substates into it. There's a repressive nature and there's a reactive nature. The repressive nature is like more of a when your soul kind of collapses inward on itself. The reactive nature is your soul is still collapsing, but it's kind of getting projected outwards onto the people around you. It's more of a reactive nature, more of a projected nature, so to speak. And the repressive nature of agitation is cowardly. I tend to, and this is a thing too, is that most people will likely fall into more of a repressive nature than a reactive nature or vice versa, just kind of depending on the things that, like, if people are scared to show their anger, they're probably going to be more on the repressive side. If they're really comfortable with their anger, but they're kind of scared to cry or to show that more vulnerable side, they're likely going to be more reactive in nature. It's a the repressive nature is kind of like fear. The reactive nature is like this anger fueled fear, is the best way
Mm,
I can kind of express that. So you might
yeah.
notice yourself in little bits of both of these. It could go back and forth. You might notice it when you're more of like a movement, that you're more in like a reactive state. It goes back and forth with each other. So, and it can look like different degrees. It doesn't have to be so loud. It can be very subtle with the way that it shows up too. So the repressive nature of being cowardly, here the agitation turns inward and becomes frozen. You slowly shut down, you lose your zest for life, and you give your power away to fear. You may feel stuck in a loop of self-pity or sadness, convinced that life is against you. This isn't weakness. It's a powerful nature that hasn't yet faced its own illusion of fear.
I've lived that one.
You what?
I've lived that one fully. Yep. Like, my
Yeah.
most
Oh.
recent massive, like, the biggest experience in ceremonial work that I've had recently, my integration was very disconnected, disjointed, disrupted, disrespected, degraded, and, like, that my repressive nature came out complete where I, like, for the first time, I've never been a, like, shut down, frozen, depressive, for, like, especially extended periods of time. I've definitely experienced being depressed, like a lower wavelength, but it went for an extended period of time, and that was so difficult for me because it was so different than my natural I'm much more reactive
Mhm.
normally, and so being in that repressed state for such a long time was so difficult because I couldn't like, I'd never really navigated those things in that way. And like my partners were like, what is going on? Like, we've never seen this. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So seeing it in language and knowing the skill set that it took to move through that and how I moved through that is very helpful. I'm, like, seeing it on a linear trajectory, and linear is very hard for me because I don't really experience time as linear. I experience it much more up and down of, like, which
Mhm.
frequency am I on, thus that's what I'm experiencing, and so grounding this into my, like, human experience is very helpful.
Mhm. Mm. It's so, I feel like you said something so powerful too with this of you're a little bit more used to the reactive nature, and being in a repressive nature is kind of like a shock almost in and of itself of like,
Yes.
I don't recognize me in this. And
Yes.
it's so funny that you said that because last night I was talking with my husband in the kitchen and we were just kind of making food and doing all of that. And he was expressing that right now he feels very frozen. And I've actually frozen is a word for repressive nature. Like when I hear someone's frozen, I'm like, they're in the like repressive nature of something. I just naturally go to that. So hearing him say that when he's a manifester, he is a little ball of like just creative surge and then anger. Like, so he has a
Yeah.
more like reactive nature because he has such big highs and such big lows. So to hear that he had moved into this like frozen state, I was like, oh, something is really, really big happening with you right now. Like that's a
Yes.
cue to me, kind of like how you said, where I'm like, he's in an area that's completely unfamiliar to him at the moment. This
Yes.
is really helpful to know because now I know to bring more compassion, to bring more gentleness to where he is because his system is struggling at the moment. And it's not a bad thing, but it's good cue to then help me tune in further into his process and be like, all right, now I know where he is a little bit more.
Yeah, the skyrocket I knew when I started to understand it, because of course you're first in it and you're like, what the and then as you're like starting to come out of it, as you're putting the pieces in place to like, ladder your way out or step stool your way out or dig your way out or however you get yourself out of it or the support system to support you out of
Mm-hmm.
it, I was like, oh, this is the like pulling of the arrow back. And
Yes.
now I get
Yeah.
to figure out, okay, what arrow is this? What am I skyrocketing forward in? But because that's not a normal state for me, and because it was so big and so massive, like the other side of it, when I come out of this, I understood inherently how big and how productive and how supportive. And the other side of it is
Mm.
this podcast and this new trajectory and this like
Oh.
clarity and willingness and like this new version of not only myself but my business in truly processing people's projections and other people. Like I got accused of being a cult leader, I got accused of being a snake oil salesman, I got accused of
Oh my
all of these
gosh.
horrible negative things from people who didn't even know me. Like my partner's family like attacked me and have continued to attack me the entire time that we've been together. Their like goal is for us to not be together, and they have been very open about the fact that they do not like me, they do not respect me, they do not think what I
Mm-hmm.
do is real. They're like modern day witch hunters. And so to
Mm-hmm.
go through into this repressive nature, because they're all very avoidant and I am not avoidant. So dealing with that in this way, it did go into this massive repressive place, which I had never
Mm-hmm.
really experienced for more than like a little bit of time. And I was there for an
Mm-hmm.
extended period of time. And then you get this moment where you're like, okay, but there's a gift on the other side of this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a city on the other side of this. There is what let's focus on the carrot. Let's focus on the what we get, not what we have to give. Cause like I'm giving a
Mm-hmm.
lot, but what am I going to
Yeah.
get? And like that is
Yeah.
a supportive maneuver for me of like, okay, let's
Mm.
just align with like what I'm going to receive when I move through this, when I do the work that this requires.
And also, what a beautiful example of like you'll relate probably more to the reactive energy of this when we go through it as well. But what an example of the fact that this is a deeply ingrained gift in you, that not only do you experience like the reactive nature, but you're now understanding what this repressive nature of this feels like. You're getting to experience that firsthand, because when we really get to experience our gifts, we experience our shadows deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, so that we understand the gift to deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper levels. You cannot get to the
Yeah.
gift, the wisdom of the gift, without fully understanding this shadow area. Like it's not
Yes.
well, let me just skirt around it and just get to the gift and get to the money. It's like when you go through your fears, when you go through them, you're experiencing them and you integrate that and you get to be with it in a different level. That's what helps you understand your gift to a higher dimension.
Yes. Mm,
Yeah. Oh, so well said.
mm.
Well, I'm curious now on how the reactive nature jumps out to you. It
Yeah.
is when agitation is in the reactive nature, it is hostile. So, and again, some of these words, they're just words, but notice the subtleties of this. Not only just the extremes of it, but how it might show up in very subtle forms as well, too. And especially with the projector bitterness, I feel like I have to say, because that one's a potent energy in and of itself.
Hmm.
So here, the agitation explodes outward in rage, with little to no respect for other humans. You throw yourself into extreme competition, conflict, or risk just to feel powerful. Kind of like how you had mentioned in the college, you just drop a bomb and walk away. Like it's kind of like that. Like you're so immersed in your own process, there's very little respect for other humans or what actually happens to them and what you do. And underneath it all is a deep sense of futility, no vision, and no purpose. Again, you're not really connected to this higher thing, this higher purpose that's really guiding you. It's just like, I don't really have an agenda, so I'm just going to kind of create these shockwaves. And there's a lot of people in this world right now that are agitation starters in the world. The waiting for something bad to happen comes from some of these people who will just come in and mess up the world and then just walk
Yeah.
away from it. So again, that's to an extreme level of it, of course. But you provoke others with no real agenda, stir chaos, and mistake recklessness for boldness or bravery. So there is a boldness and a bravery to speaking your truth and to kind of being this shockwave initiative person. But when it's in a gift energy, there's so much more care and respect and reverence in it, rather than just this, there's no agenda to it, and I'm just going to drop bombs on people and walk away.
Yeah, because I had never really experienced the repressive in the way that I did. I I had experienced repressive and gotten into that state. I was also repressing myself because I don't normally choose to deal with avoidant people in this
Hmm.
way when like it's my partner's family. Like I don't have a choice around that. Also, like I'm not in the leadership role, so we're not navigating how I would navigate. And so once I was like shoved down, shoved down, repressed, 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 and then it got to the reactive space. Ooh, when it popped off, it really popped off. And like it was very much that like, okay, I'm just gonna like let it out in any way. And like I came back to my partner and was like, I deeply need to apologize for that, and, like, laid all of it out and was like,
Yeah.
I have been navigating in the way that, like, I have felt best to, like, be supportive of you and understanding of you, and I really need to voice my truth more, which is, like, I need you to address this. I need you to handle this. Like, I
Yeah.
need you to take a step because I am not allowed, and, like, I use the word allowed gently. It's not that they weren't allowing me, but, like, that was not the best way for us to navigate their family, especially because their family was, like, lying and slandering and making shit up and
Hmm.
going off false information, and, like, they accused me of being teal swan and, like, having really, like, no
Ooh.
integrity or ethics or, like, a cult lea like, all of this crazy stuff before they had even met me. And had no reference. They were saying that I said things on the internet that I was like, "Show me that, because like, I've never said like, show me like, you're just making stuff up." And so I repressed for so
Yeah.
long that when it did come out, I was like, "Ooh, that was bad." Like, that was a really
Mm,
not great one, and I can acknowledge that that was a really not great one. Honey, I love you so much. Like, I'm so sorry that, like, it came out in that way. Like, I need to do a better job of not repressing and not shoving it down
uh,
so that my truth can come out as bravery and not just as this like a- absolute chaos of like I wanted to meet
yeah.
them in their
Yeah.
horribleness. I wanted to meet them in
Yeah.
their like ridiculousness because I had felt so repressed for so long and like I wasn't handling
Yeah.
it, I wasn't dealing with it and I was like, okay, I am now clear on that, that like I need to feel as if this is in some way, shape, or form being addressed, being handled, being spoken to, that I'm not just vulnerable out taking attack left and right without being protected or considered or safeguarded in any way.
Mm, yeah. It's really fascinating too, because I kind of feel like when I hear people like it's so interesting to me to see which side they were more comfortable with when they were younger, whether that was more
Yes.
reactive or more of a repressive side. And the more that they grow into their process and their gifts and they're coming back online a little bit more, it's almost like they go towards the opposite way. Like I have been noticing that I've been more in a reactive state and it's been getting louder lately because there's like this fierceness behind what I've been feeling for so long and it's finally getting energy to move underneath it. And it's like this sometimes I feel like people, like especially people pleasers, I notice that like there's this cycle that they go through where they people please, and then they start to break down because that's not working for them anymore.
Yes.
And they almost go so hard into the other direction of, well, now I need to be overly defensive because no one's going to
Yes.
hear me anyways. Now I need to be mean to get like my boundaries met. Now I need to show up like this and be fierce and like I'm in my villain era. And it becomes this
Yeah.
like total swing to the other direction where you're like, got it. Yeah. No, go ahead, be in that. Do you probably
Yeah.
need it for a little
Pendulum
while
swing.
to rebalance? And so to hear that it's like there's this natural repressive side that's been coming out on you lately, where there's been this like more of a reactive nature of just dropping things, walking away. Like, and now it's kind of like this other side of you that's like, ooh, wait, let me just pull back a little bit. But that can go way too far to the other extreme, to the other extreme as well, which is that repressive state. And now you're frozen in how your energy is moving. But I feel like we especially healers need to understand both of those extremes. And I haven't seen yet to this day someone who's been a healer or someone who's here for the collective evolution that hasn't experienced both of those extremes to some extent or another.
Yeah, it's necessary.
Yeah.
It's how we walk through the fire so then we can turn around and support others through
Hmm.
their fire. And again, the meeting of I've met myself so deeply that like in priestess container work where I'm like, okay, let us go into this state together. I will hold the container that like I am very aware of the depth at which I can navigate. And so I
Yeah.
scan people before taking clients on, and I'm like, yes, I am confident that I can hold a safe container for what it is that you are not just verbally expressing to me, but in your frequency, in all of the unseen realms, what you are bringing to the table and desiring to work on, and have the like capacity, ability to meet yourself in that, that like I can meet you in that.
That's really well said. Yeah, I can completely see that. This is basically the summary of the shadow. Is there anything that you want to touch on before we move into your gift?
Nope, let's move.
Yeah, okay. This is, and like I said before, you'll get a copy of this. So if you ever want to reference it and just kind of touch back onto some points, then you've got that ready to go at any point.
Yes.
And just as a reminder, and something that will be a reminder to anyone that I might work with in the future. Again, there isn't anything that your logical mind needs to do with any of this information. Literally just by absorbing it. Your body is doing, I like to think of it almost as like there's like a bunch of little like minions inside the body that are just like flipping on and off different light switches. And they're like, oh, got it. We're going to flip on this one now. And now that we're going to make this code more active and this is going to happen with this, the body knows what to do with this information.
I'll have to share with you separately together what the vibrational, what the imagery, what the flavor, what the through all of my different clairs, what's happening while I'm receiving this in such a bioavailable way.
Cannot
Yeah.
wait to hear that. I would love
Yes.
that. Oh, okay. So your gift energy, again, two sides of the same coin. So the gift of initiative is literally the gift of agitation, just seen through a different lens. That's it. It's just being played with a little bit differently. It's being met a little bit differently. There isn't judgment that's getting put against the agitation at that point. That's how you start to shift into the gift. And initiative is the courageous choice to follow your own path and believe in yourself without waiting for permission, approval, or a map. It feels like finding strength in your differences from others. It feels like choosing your creative truth over external validation. Letting go of comparison and focusing on your own empowerments. That's a really big one for this because you are also not only a initiator of yourself, but you're also initiator of other people's individual empowerments. That's part of how this gift operates when it's in its full service mode, and especially being the linchpin of your pearl. This is, or of your prosperity sequence. This is something that the more that you let go of comparison or the judgments of other people, kind of like the family, things like that, and really focus on your own empowerment, you literally become that beacon to other people to claim that for themselves.
Yes.
That feels really true for me about you. This energy also feels like being the first to try something new simply because it calls to you. This is thunder is the, I'm going to go first. I'm going to take this step and I'm going to do this and I'm going to try this. So even like and paired with your 1-3, that doesn't surprise me because 1-3 is such an experimenter. It's a researcher and an experimenter. So even your story of kind of addressing like your partner's family and the way that they've treated you, and you kind of had more of a reactive, like, that wasn't said the best way kind of a thing. Even that is you going first with trying on an energy with it and then being like, whoop, that wasn't it. And the more grace you can give yourself for those trial and error energies of your 1-3 profile design, the more that you'll be able to keep taking these leaps into something, even if it feels like there's fear there anyways. Which is this next one. Tuning into the impulse that knows when it's time to leap, even if you're afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just like truly just like taking it in. Like, the moments when you're sitting in the car and the sun peeks in through the window and you're like, oh, that's hot. And then you just kind of like sit and settle and you're like, yeah, but that feels good. And you just like absorb the sun and feel what it's doing. And like, you're like, oh, yes, that's awakening my battery.
Oh,
That's filling my battery. That's activating my like, ooh, my cells, and you're
I
like, "Yes, I
know
am
this.
taking that in, and I am feeling how it's shifting things, and how it's activating things, and how it is the most organic process."
It's so, I liken projectors, and my nature in general has been likened to this, but like a cat just the cat energy of like and I think of that immediately when you say that, of whenever like something washes over me, I literally feel like a cat that wouldn't found that like one little sunbeam coming in through a
Yes.
window, and I'm just going to lay in it and just be with it for a little while.
Yes. Mm.
Yeah. So this gift is about alignment with self and belief that you are supported to be uniquely you. You stop competing with others and begin refining your own excellence, letting others mirror where you're at, but not determine your worth. So very similarly, using the example of the family, if that was a mirror to you, but it didn't determine your worth, it would show you not that they're beating up on you or what's happening from their end, but like this feeling of, oh, this is where I'm still a little ungrounded with my own authenticity. Oh, I'm being pushed up against. Here's some of my edges. How do I want to refine this in a way where it can actually support me to be more authentic? Does that actually involve speaking up, or maybe it involves me stepping back a little bit more? But it gives you this radar of who you're being with these situations. And when you're in this gift energy, you're not looking at what other people are doing to you. You're not looking at who they're being, what's wrong with them, how they're comparing you, how they're judging you. It's just noticing how that stuff lands in your own system and then working with that information from there.
Mm. Yeah. And that is exactly how I moved through it without having, I'm like, I wish I had had this then, because I got to this point where I was just like, okay, in what way? It has to have an in, because other people have judged, other people have made those comments. Like, it has been put upon me since the beginning of time. People have told women who are gifted and witches and oracles and that it's not real. And I'm like, other
Yeah.
people have put that on me. What about this has gotten in? And instead of looking to them, look to me.
Mhm.
Where are my leaks? Where are my holes? Where am I not big enough in myself where like it just kind of falls off? And then I birthed
Huh?
so many amazing aligned things and like launched this podcast and shifted
Huh?
my marketing and like became even more embodied. I was like, oh, I'm actually even bigger than what they're perceiving me as. And if I
Huh?
had been embodied in that bigness, this wouldn't have gotten to me in that same way. And so now it's this work of like, how often can I be in the bigness, in the fullness of my expression, completely unaffected by people who have a lower perspective, who can only see through these, like, I like to say reverse binoculars, when you like hold on to them and you're like, it's like, and I'm like, no, I am here and my truth can be different than your truth. But if I am stable and satiated and grounded in my truth, your truth doesn't affect mine. You can hold yours and I can still hold mine and I can be unaffected by you.
And here's what's really beautiful about that as well, too, is you got that because of your shadow state. You
Yes.
understand that because of the demonstration of what it feels like to shift your shadow state. Without that shadow, you wouldn't be aware of how to hold yourself at that level. And so this is why these are not bad things. These are guiding energies. And when you start looking at them like that they're actually guiding you and helping to shape you and showing you where you're still blocked within yourself so that you can expand and be unlimited with how you show up in your expression. It's like when you have doubt about yourself, I think doubt is actually one of the main energies that you hold either in your purpose or in your radiance. I can't remember. But it's 63 or 64. I can't remember how yours look for that. But doubt in and of itself, if you think about doubt as a shadow state, if you're doubting yourself, if you're, doing all of that, it's very easy to look at that as like, this is why I'm stuck. Like maybe I'm not meant to move any further than this because of these limitations. But that doubt is actually showing you where you're trapping yourself. It's like
Yeah.
you hold this thought about yourself. What do you want to do with that? You're the
Yes.
only one that's blocking you in because of this doubt that you hold about yourself. And that doubt is showing you that. It's showing you where to redirect that back outwards again, in a way.
Yeah.
And as you were talking, it made me think of this. This is what made me think of that, is because so much of the time when people are looking through those really narrow little like holes, like the, telescope lens or whatever, they're not, it's so easy to put that like, this is how you market. This is how your voice should sound. Here's how you should
Yes.
show up for other people from this place. And specifically, your language is what's going to initiate people to meet you on your own frequency. Your voice, your power doesn't have to have the perfect hook. It is literally the thing that is like a little beacon. And especially being a projector, you're like a little lighthouse light. So you're just like saying, here's my language, here's what I have to give. And then all your right boats come in for you. But if
Yeah.
you're distorting your language and you're trying to make it look a certain way and have the perfect branding and have the perfect hook and all of these things, you're actually taking away from the message that's you, and you're making it more palatable. So you might not even attract your right votes, the people that really need you at that point.
Yeah.
And so it makes me think of this question for you. What if the way you create wealth or prosperity isn't through a perfect plan, but through moments of lightning truth that awaken others?
I'm like, I could get rid of so many marketing trainings and just read that question over and over and over again of like, it's just letting people behind the veil to see the truth of me. And it's very hard to, or I've experienced it as very difficult to like, okay, how do I bottle that up? How do I create that when it's not for
Uh-huh.
someone else? Because my magic is so in relation to someone else. Because what's so unique
Uh-huh.
about me is that, like, I'm not just teaching you my methodology, I'm not just teaching you my framework. I am responding to you. I am seeing you. I'm
Uh-huh.
synthesizing for you. I'm not giving you anything that's mine for the most part. I am
Uh-huh.
reading, seeing, tasting, navigating, selecting, unweaving what you're giving to me, and not just in your language and not just in your micro movements and not just in your body, but like truly in the multi-dimensional layer. Like I can Rolodex through your multi dimensions and be like, this
Uh-huh.
thing lights up when you say that. This thing stagnates when you say
Uh-huh.
that. This thing over here. And it's oftentimes because I also call myself the like COO, like I have order of operations as one of my gifts. Where like I know we start here and then we go here and then we do this and then we do, and like in what order and what you are, once again, bioavailable for. You can meet yourself this deep. Okay, now here. And you just went a little bit deeper. Okay, now here. And now here. Oh, yep,
Uh-huh.
now. And like synthesize. It's like a whole symphony through the multi-dimension, but it's digestible, very similar to what you're doing of like, but it's digestible for that individual. You don't have to be at this practitioner level to
Yeah.
benefit from this version of the gene keys, to benefit from this information, because that's part of our gift is like being
Uh-huh.
able to digest it and say it in a way, describe it in a way, explain it in a way, paint the picture in a way that the person goes, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And they're like,
Yeah.
just like with this, we're like, you don't have to do anything. Just your awareness and exposure to it is like that was the click. That was the thunder. Like that is bringing the lightning.
Oh, and it's even going back to our original conversation that we might have had before this call started, of AI. We were talking
Yes.
about AI. And you can have all of this information, you can keep reading certain things, but this is never going to replace an actual human's embodiment of it, right? Because when you're sharing space with someone, when you're holding space for someone, especially as a practitioner, especially as a healer who's sent here to kind of bridge this gap between the divine and the humanness, it's you're not just getting the words that I've created with this that make sense to me. You're getting my energy, my presence, my embodiment of it. Like I am holding that space for us through my own presence and through my fine tuning of this. And you can't get that from AI. You can't get
Yes.
that in any sort of a way that's like a shortcut. Your energy is so potent when you're holding space for someone. And that's the thing that all healers and people are working with is their own energy and their own embodiment so that they can hold others more effectively and more efficiently.
Huh?
This kind of, like you said, it's kind of like I'm putting stuff in your space, but we're holding it. Our energies are kind of co-creating with it. And it's not a hierarchy. It's not I know more than you. This is a co-creative equal. I think that hierarchies are starting to break down and they should be
Yes.
in our civilization. And it should be more like a synarchy, right? Of like you're really gifted. I'm really gifted. Let's continue to work with our gifts together. And again, going back to the shadow state of this, it's not about being more gifted than somebody else. It's not about being better than someone else. It's about
Yes.
noticing how your strength from your differences actually makes you work with everybody else even better. And yeah,
Yes.
that's,
Yes, that we
yeah.
are collaborating in priestess work. It's not I
Uh-huh.
have the answers. It's that I am an illuminator of your own
Uh-huh.
remembrances and you sharing space with me, not just the reading of it, just like you're saying, I can give you all of this knowledge, but it doesn't transform into wisdom unless you have that support. And yes, sometimes you can do that for yourself. I'm sure there are some people who can read what you've written
Mm-hmm.
and receive the
For
wisdom by
sure.
digesting it themselves. But for so many people who are called to work with us, who are called to this information, the digestibility, the integration, the embodiment, it can be so much easier, so much more graceful, so much more efficient because we are doing it in collaboration. And it's not, I am
Yeah.
better, I know more. It's that I am illuminating things that have been hard for you to see, that you've repressed, that ancestral, that
Huh?
lineage, that subconscious, but all of these different things have dampened and hidden from you. But when I turn the lights on and I point at it, you're like, oh, yeah, that is mine. And I'm like, yes, now let's pick it up. Now let's bring it here. Now, how do you use that? Now, what works best for you? And
For
that, like,
sure.
what I call in the AI episode of like, AI does not have a wet system. It does not have that body. It does not have the electromagnetic field. It
Uh-huh.
cannot replicate that human to human connection. So it breaks down between knowledge into wisdom. You can get all of the knowledge, but how do we get it into an embodied state? How do we receive the wisdom? A lot of times it is
Mm.
the working with the co-creation, and that is why a lot of the people that come to work with me, it's like, you've already worked with a therapist. You've already
For
done these
sure.
like technical things. And now it's this, oh, but it's everything, everything all at once. Yes, that's alchemy. Let us work
Yeah.
in the space of alchemy more than just knowing, more than just experiencing, but let us digest and integrate and embody and be.
Hmm. And to build off of that as well too, what I feel like is so powerful about human design and gene keys is it helps you to access those differences in a way that really respects them and allows you to really get in there and work with people to that extent. Like when we're
Mhm.
looking at even just like a really basic example of your pearl versus my pearl. Yours, look at this. It's like not being afraid to go first, not being afraid to shock people, not being afraid to get out there and to move and to leap and to create and to awaken people around him. Do you want to know what my pearl is that helps me be most prosperous version of myself? Literally restrained, literally pulling back from doing any of that and just being in my own energy constantly and literally understanding like it's the mountain is the gene key kind of archetype for it. And so if you think about that, yours is thunder, mine is mountain. It is so
Mm,
still and it's so pulled
yes.
back and it's so like I'm only offering my energy when it's really necessary. And that is how I learned to work with my prosperity sequence. It's
Mm,
not constantly putting myself out there and shocking people and doing this and doing that, which I have tried to do as a projector, and it
yeah.
does not get me very far. Whereas your specific kind of projector magic is getting in there and shocking and lifting and making movement and all of that. Mine is literally the exact opposite of how still can I be,
Mm,
which is absolutely wild because if you are
yeah.
operating off of what everyone else has told you, and this is where I have a really hard time with the online space, it's noise because it's like you need this program, you need this thing. This thing is going to give you all the answers. If you haven't been attracting the right kind of people, here's the step that you need to understand and work with, and da 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 da. And it's like that does usually a lot of those things are actually built for narrators.
Yeah.
It is literally designed for a generator worlds. And so a lot of the time, and I got sucked into so many programs, so many things that I thought would have the answers for me. Whereas when I simplify it, oh, you mean not doing a million things and literally being in my own stillness. And again, this supports other parts of your chart. So for me, my stillness gives me the ability to hear and listen better, to discern more, which is gate number 13, gene key number 13, which is in my radiance. That's my health. So when I'm still, I can hear better. And then I can go into the other gifts within my chart. Whereas yours shows up differently. There's such a
Yeah.
different tune to it with how you operate.
Yeah, and running the like wait for the invitation for both of us in such completely different ways, it really does show you like how different this work is when you are doing it with someone, when you are creating with someone, when you are digesting with someone who can interpret. And I think both of our work in so many ways is about that next step for someone where it's not just a program, a template, a methodology, but it is so specific to the self. Like our magic is how do I support you in understanding this for you with your specificity, with your uniqueness. And even so much as going, there's nothing to do here. There's not necessarily an action step here. It's about being in oneness with this.
And yeah, it's like and I love this work that I feel like I've been doing because it's not telling you what to do with any of this,
Yes.
right? Like it isn't saying this is how you're going to show up. Here's exactly how many times you should be visible throughout your week. Here's exactly the kind of it's just like here's the energy that you need to tune into so that you can feel it when you're moving through it. Like, ooh, did I hold myself back because I was scared of being judged? What does that feel like? What would I do if I weren't scared of that? What would my creative expression want to do if it was just going and it just wanted to show up and be loud and be whatever it needed to be? Like and then you naturally get in tune with yourself from there. The frequencies are just like where the magic are for me.
Yes. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm right there
Keep
with
going?
you. Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. This gift is about alignment with self and the belief that you are supported to be uniquely you. We already read that part. You stop competing with others, begin refining. There we go. You walk boldly through the unknown and let life shock you open into your true voice, your right relationships, and your sacred role. So you're not only the shock factor, you are constantly getting shocked, especially with someone who holds this gift. You might find this I didn't include this question in the reflections, but a way to think about this is how often do you confuse comfort for like peace or something that's a little bit more pacifying in a way where actually like you're kind of here to be a little bit more bold and to get shocked and to get stirred up, kind of like with your partner's family. That did something for you. And when you embrace it and look at what's really happening here and you walk boldly through the unknown, you literally start to find your true voice, your right relationships, and your sacred role way more often. And the most beautiful part is your initiative awakens others, not by leading, but by simply embodying your natural you-ness. By trusting your originality, you create positive shockwaves in the world, nudging others out of fear and into their own empowered rhythm.
So, like, just so internal and so true. And so I've been expressing to my partner that I'm like, my marketing is just when I am really, really me, people are like, that, like, I can't tell you how many times on discovery calls people are like, "I'm not exactly sure what we would do, but I wanna do it." Like, I wanna be in it, and, like, I wanna feel that, and I'm like, "Yeah, you want to your version of this." Like, I'm showing you and expressing just through my frequency how much authenticity and how much embodiment and how much joy and being the self and how much magic comes from being the self, and people are like, "I want my version of that." And I don't know how to put language to like what we would be doing to create that. And I'm like, I don't need you to put language to what we would be. I'm like, I have a plethora of ideas like this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And then when you share with me what's blocking you, what's hard for you, what you're dealing with, where your emotions are, I'm like, it just naturally unfolds. And it's so specific to each person that like marketing is difficult because I'm like, yeah, everybody has the like, okay, be problem aware and talk to your specific client. And I'm like, yeah, but my clients are so like, your specific problem is not the same as, so I'm like literally sitting, downloading through the quantum, feeling them push through the quantum and getting down to like the most absolute specific, like for around Samhain, I downloaded these two specific client types and I just like started talking to the internet. I'm like, I'm looking for these two people. I'm looking for these two client types who are dealing with these issues and at this time during these specific dates. And I'm like, I'm doing it completely backwards. I'm literally going like, these are the types of people. These are the dates. This is the overarching theme. Where's the person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is why such a good distinguishment here is when you literally distort your own voice to then reach more people, your signal is getting distorted as well. So it's like if you're trying to market correctly, and this is where my business has continuously shut me down over and over and over again, because I'm like, I'm ready. I'm back in my springtime and I can't wait to share this, this, and this. And then I get so overtaken by what everyone else wants me to post and what everyone else wants me to talk about and what everyone else is like this and this and this. And like, oh, that was too heady when you explained it. And like, I didn't understand that. Can you like talk to me like I'm like a fifth grader? And it's like, yes, I can see where you're coming from with that. And also, the more that I try to meet you in your own language and drop to where your frequency is, I'm now distorting my own signal. And
Yes.
the more that I understand my signal and continue to work with it, the more my language is going to get refined. It's going to get simplified. It's going to turn into something that's more me. But if it's through somebody else's lens, it's going to get distorted. And then it's not going to be my power and my genius. It's going to be a fear-based version of my power and my genius. And people can feel that. That's the thing, is like people can feel that whether or not they're aware of it.
Yes. And there's a difference between me changing my content, like you're expressing me changing my content for your readability, absorbability, versus you being in a session with me and me being able to say it multiple different ways to find that integration point. What it
Yes.
sounds
Yeah.
like is, instead of me adjusting my content, you need to book a session and receive this for yourself in this
Yes.
container that's specific to you. What I'm feeling from that individual is like, you are called to this information and you want it in your own way. And so, like, if you, as someone who's listening to this, experience that with anyone's content where you're like, "Ooh, I want it in this particular," it's because you are called to that information you want to absorb, but that is their genius. That is their gift. You want to work with them, not address to them how to change their publicly disseminated content so that you can receive a session through the internet without receiving a session.
Oh my God, that's so well said. Yeah. Yeah, that is exactly how it lands for me as well too.
So,
And
like, book your
also,
sessions, guys.
it's like book your sessions, because I swear
Yeah.
to God, it's the space that gets held. That's the big difference there. And like you said, literally like figuring out how to allow somebody else's language to come through around this is the biggest part. Because like I said, this naturally comes through to me and I understand this, but hearing your take on it and hearing your experience with this, I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly how I experience. Like, that's insane. And I'm learning so much from you because I'm getting to witness this energy through someone who holds it, through
Yes.
someone who is literally working with this energy day by day by day, moment to moment to moment, whereas I get little glimpses of it and I get to play with it. But this is like, it's just as powerful in these sessions for the people who are receiving them as much as the people who are giving them as well too.
Yes.
And that's when you know it's a truly co-creative space and someone is there for the interest of your own process and doesn't have an agenda for your process,
Yes.
is how that kind of shows up for me.
Yes. The priestess pen.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so key insight. True initiative is spiritual bravery. Every time you act from your truth, the universe rearranges to support you.
I love that permission. I'm like, yes.
I
Yes.
know.
Yes.
Oh, so simply
Yes.
said, and it's just like, yep, that's what it is.
Yep. Yep.
You also hold, I think, 30 or 20. I think it's 30. I always keep looking over here because I've got a whole thing printed out that just helps me because it's so much information all the time. Yeah. You also hold hold a couple of gene keys where the more that you trust your path, almost kind of like this, the seed of your fruition, of your manifestations, is in the first step of your commitment towards your path. So you don't have to know what every step is going to look like, but literally taking that step and trusting that the universe rearranges to then support you in that step is how you continuously take these leaps. Because this is all about tuning into the impulse that tells you when it's time to leap. And it's trusting that that little seed of manifestation is held within that first step. And you actually have this kind of littered throughout your chart of like trust me and I'll be there to catch you, but you have to take that step and you have to trust me and know that you're being held in that first step. And that's how you continuously make big movements rather than like this, well, I can't see how it's all going to pan out yet. So like, I'm just not going to take any steps until I'm not ready. That is literally the exact opposite almost of your design in a way.
That is good to know. Good to reaffirm that, like,
Yeah.
all of the, like, when I know, and I move, and everybody's like, wait, that's really, and I'm like, I know it's really I know, but I gotta go. Sorry.
Sorry, I just have to. I've got to do
Yes.
it.
Yes.
So I call this, so the city is kind of there's the shadow, the gift, and the city. I actually like to refer to the city as essence because it's something that's infused. It's not something to get to, but it's something that's infused in both the shadow and the gift. The more embodied you are with the gift, the more likely this essence is going to be something that you feel. But it is just as infused into the shadow state as it is the gift, and it's working through both of these. It's almost kind of like if you think of the shadow state as a seed, and then the flower that comes up and it gets grown from the seed is the gift, and then the city is like the fruit. So the fruit is
Mm,
always within the seed, right? But it's like how you're playing with the energy is going to show you where you're more aware of it versus not. So it might not feel
yeah.
like this is with you when you're in the shadow state, but it's just as alive as the gift energy is, with just a turn, almost like a little like quick shift of your perspective.
Yeah.
And that's the essence, the city of awakening. So we've got the shadow state of agitation, and then we've got your gift state of initiative, and then the essence of awakening is infused in both of those. So awakening is the moment the illusion drops, and you realize you were never separate from life, from source, from anything. It can't be forced. And there's no, listeners, literally, if you ever come across something that's like, here's this perfect program or this perfect thing that'll wake you up and put you into an alignment, that is not how it works. It is so unique. It can't be forced. It can't be pushed on you. You can't attain it by doing all of the right things. That's not how this energy works. It often comes in a flash, unexpected, humbling, and permanent. Awakening is one of those things where you're either asleep or you're awake. There's no really in between. And once you're awake, you can't ever be asleep again. Kind of like that thing we were talking about. If once you see something, you can't unsee it. It's there, right? And every shock to your system leads to clarity over chaos and presence over panic. Those are two really important words for that. At this level, you don't act to prove yourself. You give yourself completely to life. You live as a walking invitation for others to remember who they are.
Mm. Yeah, that is that one sentence of like, when I am in my truest state, I live as a walking invitation and initiation for others to remember like who you really are. Like my core pillar of so much of my work is like, I am an illuminator and you will remember. And it's not me giving you those things. You have them inside you, but they need to be remembered. They need to be activated. They need to be illuminated so that you can either see them and grab or enter or choose them or face them. And that my own transmission, my own being from all the work that I do become just like it's vibrating at this rate. And in sharing this safe container and showing me yourself, I'm like, yep, right here, and yep, right here, and yep, right here, and yep, right here. And the activations, very similar to when someone receives these gene keys in this way, they're like, oh, I just kind of get it. And just like we've stated, the awakening, there's no going back. You can pretend, but like there is no going back.
And because you hold that energy so intimately, because this is one of your gifts, you treat this process differently than how others would. You are able to hold them in that, like, yeah, I know I've shocked you, but now let me kind of hold you in this. Like, I
Yeah.
understand that was a shock. Let me help guide you through this. I understand that I'm getting shocked all the time. It's not fun.
Yes.
And it's also really empowering when you take those shocks and you turn them into a portal into something higher for yourself. And that's literally what you are, a living embodiment of,
Mm,
especially when you're aligned. Even when it doesn't feel like you're aligned, when you're more in this shadow state, you're still in that. That's the thing,
yes.
is it's like you are still actively embodying that. You're just learning a deeper layer to it. And that's the piece that I feel like so many people get a little lost on, is like, again, this is not something you graduate from. It's not like you're never going to experience agitation again. It's learning what agitation is and how it's here to be your ally rather than this thing that's attacking you. And that's like where it really starts to shift your relationship with your own energy inside of you.
Yes. Yes. So many things are like clicking in and so many experiences and examples and so much validation in, especially when other people perceive your process of integration, your process of embodiment, or like, for instance, in a lot of what you're explaining to me is like, I have to do it my own fucking way and nobody else is really going to get it. And it's going to look weird to other people. And like, I get the feedback a lot of like, well, I wouldn't run my business that way, or I wouldn't do that, or that's not working. I get a lot. And I'm like, But working, you define working as different than I define working because, like
Yeah.
we've expressed, I need to take that first step. And a lot of times nobody really understands it and it doesn't make sense. And then when it does work, it's like these spillover points where, like, oh yeah, it all like trickles down. Like when you're playing those games and you like shift one over and everything else, like, and I'm like, yeah, now it works. Mine's not linear
Yeah.
in how it is for a lot of other people. But anytime that I then not just hear, but actually join them in that where I'm like, "Oh, maybe it's not," or "No, hang on. I can't go to the, well, maybe you're right and I'm wrong about my own self that I've spent so long getting to know and being with and felt so aligned with just a moment ago that your projection, your fear shouldn't change me that fast. Okay, where am I not grounded in that? And then it's not their fault, that it's my responsibility.
Yes. Oh, and one tiny thing to add to that as well too, to kind of tack onto that is, again, there's this idea that it has to look a certain way. Like this is so subjective, even in nature, of it being like you
Yes.
always got to go first and you're always shocking people. That could look like something entirely different to your language than it looks to mine. So, and again, this is where I think some labels within human design can get a little bit messy. Like projectors are not meant to work. Projectors are not meant to do much of anything. They're meant to see and perceive. Well, my version of not working is going to look wildly different to yours. If you're lit up by whatever it is that you're doing, you might be working multiple hours a day. You might be creating and constantly on and going and doing all this stuff. Whereas maybe my idea of not really working is like, I work maybe a couple of hours a day. We'll just kind of leave it there. But
Mhm.
it's not a limitation because I know, and like same thing of like a generator is always like this amplifier of mood and mastery and all of these things. And it's like sometimes generators and manifesting generators also need to rest deeply. Like they're not constantly on all the time and they don't always have this crazy amount of available energy. Sometimes they need to be just as much of a hermit and just relax just as much. Very similarly, if everyone is telling you what your business needs to look like and how many things you need to do and how much stuff you have to get into place, that might not be the right way for your business to be ran. Like I personally have been goaded into so many things of how many freebies I have to create and how many this and how many that. And I can get so lost in like, oh my God, I've got to do so much. And every time I sit with it, I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. I
Yeah.
don't have a pull yet, and I have to trust that. There's a reason for that. It's not this fear or like this inability to move, which it's also good to know if that's the case. But my way of running my business is not going to look like me doing a million different things and having tons and tons of programs and all of the, it's just not going to be, I mean, maybe it'll be someone I grow into one day. There's no limitation.
Mhm.
But right now, it's not that. It's these very deep, intimate one-on-one containers. That's all I want to be
Yes.
doing and all I want to be putting my energy into. And it's okay that that might look differently than somebody else's process.
Yes, I get that all the time when
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, you're so wonderful, you're so magical in person. You should do more in-person stuff. Like, why are
Hmm.
you so focused on an online business?" And I'm like, "Because I am so potent and so magical and so amazing in person, I only do retreats and in-person work with my high-level private clients. After I've been
Hmm.
working with you online in the way that works best for me, then I will invite you to my home temple. Then you can come and work
Yeah.
with me in person. Then I will have hands-on services for, because it's a part of the whole thing that is aligned for me and that I
Yeah.
don't have to adapt it in this other way just so that everybody can get a little taste so that I can then, no, that's not in
No,
alignment for me.
that's not
I
it.
get that everyone would like that and that would make me more money in that, but like that's not in
Hmm.
alignment for me, because one of the reasons that I am this way is because of how much integrity and potency and clarity
Hmm.
and how much work I do to keep myself that clean, pure,
Hmm.
aligned.
That
Like all of
authentic
my,
expression.
yes, all of my shit is very organized. Like, I'm not saying
Yeah.
I have nothing to work on, but I know that this is what I'm working and this is what, and this is all of my crap that as a human I'm moving through, so that when I go into a container with a client, any of my crap I'm aware of so it doesn't muddy up the
Hmm.
waters of what I'm doing for them, how I'm translating for them, what's coming through for them. I'm even particular with my clients of expressing, this is a piece of information Lindsay Schroeder, my human, studied read, understands, and I'm giving you. This is a piece of information that my guide, this specific guide, this is a piece of information that I'm getting from yours. This is an individual coming through who wants to talk to both of us. This is a collective consciousness. And I'm so particular in how it comes through so that my client can connect with that and go, oh, I do witness that. I do feel the difference between you sharing something into me or you illuminating something that's already within me.
So powerful. But that was so beautifully said. Shall we go into the key insight and the embodiment of this?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so I can see you again. Key insight here is awakening doesn't need you to push. It only asks you to listen and respond with a full heart. So I really want to go back to the first line that I had included with this. These are just like little bobs, but this is the path of heart leading heart. So you are literally designed to be leading from the heart and getting other people into their hearts and being able to kind of have that like heart-led heart support. And this is the little key insight that comes along with this of just nothing is really needed from your process but to listen and to respond with your heart. Yeah. And the embodiment of thunder. So this one is really interesting because a lot of these archetypes have a very masculine or very feminine presence. But thunder is dynamic in nature, and it can literally be expressed as masculine or feminine. So do with that what you will. I'm not sure what to make of that offhand, but I know it's something that's within you and that you might have your own language for. But this is going to be written in it as the language for it. But some of these that I do, they'll be written in like, this energy is very masculine in nature, so I'll use he, or, opposite for the feminine, and I'll use she as the pronoun for it. So thunder is the archetype of sacred disruption. It doesn't ask for the stage. It's the pulse that breaks through silence. It doesn't seek attention. It moves where the storm guides it. Thunder is the first to leap, not to dominate, but to catalyze. I love that word for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thunder feels the fear, the agitation, the electricity in its bones, and it surrenders to it. It doesn't avoid the fear. It walks through it, initiating new timelines with every step. This is also an energy that is very disruptive to systems, but also catalyzes new systems coming into place for humanity. So it's like it's a shock factor, but it's not necessarily only negative shock. Positive shock is, I think we talked about that up here too. The positive shockwaves in the world. When you're in your gift energy of this, which is why it's so important to recognize, you don't have as many agendas. You're more here for the collective goodwill of humanity. And this will show up literally by creating new timelines all around you for people and for their processes, for companies, for whatever you get your hands on is literally being positively impacted through like this sacred disruption, so to speak.
Yeah, I get rid of a lot of the things that are not in alignment for you and especially for your business. Where like right away, immediately, like clients will tell me that like even without me telling or explaining just the like overview of what we're going to do in our program, they're like, I made a ton of moves in my business already just because of how that feels to be in that resonance. And then I go back to my day to day and my work life and I'm like, that resonance is not here. And I can see what things are not in alignment with that.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. So different than just trying to do this work on your own.
Yes.
That's also a really important factor, but having your people with you is just such a big way that I feel like humanity is kind of going more towards of community and connection.
Yes.
And yeah. The embodied reminder of this is if you feel fear, it means you're near a portal. Let it shake you, but don't let it stop you. Your courage might just awaken the world. Oh, I got chills as I said that.
Yeah, an entire like rewiring of fear has been the last few years for me. Completely of just like, and fear for others is not the same as fear for me. And a lot of like my new languaging in my marketing has been very focused on there is a difference when you are experiencing this fear of like, oh, fear, I need to like go back and get small, like I can't hold it. And there are many clients that I work with where I'm like, that's not fear, that's a calibration moment where like you are not afraid, you are in this big place of like you're feeling your bigness for the first or the beginning times. And if we can calibrate you to this, then the details start to align and you have the scaffolding. And then you can start to put in, okay, what is that move? What do I do? How do I work? What do I offer? But like sometimes you just need to be witnessed, truly seen, held, and supported in that bigness for you to be like,
Mhm.
oh, yeah, that is what it's gonna feel like. That's not fear, that's just massiveness, and I compare this to childbirth a lot of times because one of the best pieces of guidance, advice, perspective I got was when you start feeling the waves of contraction, if you tell yourself, "Oh, that's pain," it'll be pain. If you tell yourself and you help to, like, understand, "I've never experienced this before, it's just something new," it starts to be
Mhm.
something other than pain because it's not just pain. And as someone who
Mhm.
works deeply in the ceremony space and also works deeply with psychedelics, birth is a psychedelic experience. And so I was
Mhm.
so uniquely like prepared. I was like, oh, I understand what this is. So seeing that in my life and in my trajectory and in my actual gene keys, I'm like, so many things are clicking in and it's giving me this like flickering flash of all of the previous experiences that line up in that way and then applying it to me, especially as it pertains to business, to wealth, to prosperity, to success, to doing this unique priestess business in particular, not just my first iteration of like mentorship and spirituality, but actual like being willing to go first and be brave and say, I am a professional priestess. And like, this is the work that I'm doing right after being accosted for saying that I am like this thing. So I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
let's just go bigger. Let's be
Mm.
more authentic. Let's express more of the magnitude of gifts that I actually have that I am here to share with others and more about how life-changing this inner alchemy is.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I can feel your gifts dancing with my gifts because what you just said is going back to that circle to spiral analogy.
Yes.
It's this bigness of who you see yourself growing into, but your physical body hasn't really caught up with that yet. And so when you start to, I almost like describe it when you're in the circle, there's voids that
Yes.
happen. The voids are so uncomfortable because you're not quite yet who you've grown into, but you're not really who you were anymore in the past. And so you're
Yeah.
kind of like identityless, and it's one of the scariest feelings. And that's why people, so my brand, my like conscious sun, my like big energy that takes over is all about addiction and invention. And so I
Mhm.
understand these waves of like that void when it happens, it's like a gap in who you are.
Yes.
And so you're saying what you do is you kind of help shepherd people into understanding their bigness and move into that and create the space for that to come alive. Whereas a lot of people, when they get really stuck, is they feel that bigness and they're not really that smallness anymore, but they haven't figured out how to really adjust. And so there's this gap, and it's so uncomfortable that a lot of people try to cover it up with addictive behavior. It's like, I got to drown
Mhm.
this out because I don't know what
Yeah.
to do with it. I'm going to distract myself. I'm going to numb out. I'm going to do whatever I can to not feel how empty this feels. But when you
Yes.
shift it into the spiral and into the octave of invention, it becomes, what is this? What's available in this gap? There's something available here. And that sounds like what you touch on is like this, you feel the gap, you see the gap, but instead of covering it up and not being with it, because it just feels like fear, it feels like discomfort. And so naturally, we have like old stories that kind of come in and they're like, well, I must be feeling this way because I'm not able to do this or, XYZ. It's coming in there and being like, no, no, this gap is actually for you to give space for something else to be breathed into you. Like we need that space so that something else can move in. And
Yeah.
that's what shifts it from being on that like circular pattern into a more spiral pattern of letting that space be there and then moving into it in an embodied way.
I express that I am the chrysalis for people when they're the goo. So, like, when you are unbecoming, you are no longer the caterpillar, you're not yet the butterfly, that empty, that no thing space. When you are goo, I will be that protective container. I will hold the container for that transmutation. And when you come out, then we will talk about, okay, how do you continue to do that for yourself? And how do you recognize the goo phase? And how do you recognize
Mm-hmm.
these transitions? And how do you embody your own gifts? But having that supportive, protective
Yeah.
casing when you are unbecoming, oh my God, it changes the entire
Yeah.
experience of it. While also a lot of us go through the goo phase and then forget the goo phase, just like birth.
Mm-hmm.
We go through that transformation, transmutation, alchemy, and then we've forgotten all of that. I can then put language to it so that you retain the skill set to hold yourself. And I will teach you how to hold yourself through that so that after we're done working together, it isn't a codependency on me, that you take
Mm-hmm.
that with you and you're able to utilize those skill sets, those gifts, those navigations again for yourself as you grow, as you gain, as you transmute, as you alchemize at these higher and higher and higher levels and deeper and deeper and deeper embodiments.
Oh, and this like reminds me of literally everything that you just said. Is it reminds me of what a true leader and a true messenger and a true teacher actually is. They want you as like least dependent on them as possible. They're like, let
Right.
me give you as much as you can so that you can go off and find yourself as quickly as possible. It's not a rush
Yes.
process. You know, some people you work with for years, some are just months, some's just one session. But that, like, I don't want you dependent on me is when you know it's coming from a really, truly heart aligned place. Because a lot
Yes.
of people, and this is actually my purpose, it's gene key number 7, but it's the alpha. And it's like fear, people who lead through fear and make people dependent on them will attract the right kind of people who are living in a victim consciousness. They want to be dependent on somebody. So they're going to
Yes.
follow that very blindly and very much like a, there's always going to be people to follow with whatever way you lead from. And there are people in our world who are leading from fear-based dependency right now. And it's
Yes.
awful. We've seen
Yes.
the state of the world. It's not great. So when you find an actual embodied teacher who's like, I want to make you as less dependent on me as possible, that's how you know that that's someone who's very aligned with their own process, because it's like, I want to wake you up and then go shove you off into your own process. Like,
And I want you to
go,
be safe in that.
yeah.
Like, I want
And
you to
I
be
and I want you to
safe
be
in that.
safe in that, and I want
And that's,
you to be integrated in it, and I want you to be
yes.
able to hold this, and
Hmm.
that means that you're going to be attracting those people with that caliber of vibration that's like, I don't want to be a victim of my life anymore. I want to be empowered in my process.
Yes.
Literally, you being a living reminder to people's own individual empowered rhythm comes from that space. That is a frequency that you can feel.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
so much magic in this. So much.
Yeah. This
Mm.
was, I know we have just been talking our faces off for quite some time. There is still reflection questions. There's still how the pearl actually shows up, what it looks like when you're in the shadow, the gift, and the city. And then there's still your magical line that plays off of this. And if you wouldn't mind me taking you through your line, and then I feel like the rest of this you can kind of just
Yes.
look at on your own and go through the request. But I feel
I
like I
was
kind of
just
want to
gonna
read
say
the
that.
line on top of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, pulls it all
Because,
together.
yeah, the lines are so important because while everybody holds these energies, the energies of the 64 gene keys, there's lines 1 through 6 that are on each of them. So you'll notice when you're looking at your chart, like yours says in your pearl section, it's 51.6. And that means that there's a line that follows it. And so you'll see that in people's human design charts, like they're, 40.2 or, whatever that point 2 is, it's lines 1 through 6. And they all have their own different melody that they add into this. So you might hold this gene key of 51 along with somebody else. But if they have a different line on it, it's going to present slightly differently. So this is how you kind of get into the real nitty gritty of your own energy and your own essence with this. You happen to have a line 6 on this, which is lines 1 through 5 are kind of like lines 1 through 3 are a little bit more self-serving in nature because they're here to experience things first and then kind of give to the world through their own experiences. Like you're a 1-3. So they're very self-serving lines. You following how to take care of yourself and how to experience yourself is what's going to give back to the world. Lines 4 and 5 are more community and universal lines. They're more of like, I experience my process through giving to other people and through being with other people. And it's not to say that because you're a 1-3, you don't have those community lines. You obviously have that community in other parts of your charts and things like that. But line 6 is kind of like this weird little like line that's off to the side, and it's got this bird's eye perspective. And it's got this like, I see this all the way from up here. People might not understand you. You might be the first to see something in that capacity. You might not ever really be understood, but it's like a role model energy. It's like I don't know what you bring, but I see that you have something for our future and I want to follow that kind of a deal. So I could probably explain those lines better, but essentially speaking, each person's chart is not necessarily just the two profile lines that they have of like being a 1-3 or being a 6-2 or whatever it might be. These lines are littered throughout your chart. So even though you have 1-3 energy, you've also got a lot of 6 and 4 and community type things that then anchor it back into the community in a way, if that makes sense. It's a little bit harder to explain. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, you have a line 6 on your pearl, and this is called the visionary. And it's all about nature. So this is embodiment of the whole, inner peace, and living prosperity. If you carry a 6-line pearl, your relationship with prosperity moves far beyond the material, which makes total sense for you as well. You're here to anchor the future, to live as a quiet yet potent reminder that life is already whole, even in the midst of chaos, lack, or uncertainty. You don't chase wealth, you listen to life, which is ingrained in the entire gene key that we were just going through. And when life invites you to act, to give, or to create, you do it not out of urgency, but from presence. Your prosperity flows not from effort, but from your embodiment of truth. And your deepest gift is this: you trust nature's intelligence. You know, even if wordlessly, I love that this is just hitting on everything we've talked about.
Yeah.
That the universe doesn't operate on fear or competition. It moves through cycles, reciprocity, organic timing, and the knowing lives in your cells, and through you, it calms and rebalances the field. How does that first part land for you?
I'm like, yes, read me my manifesto. Like, this is, especially because it is the pearl, this is the grandest reminder, and truly, like, it sounds so similar to what's underneath my vision statement of like, why do I do this work and why do I offer it in this way and why have I been so specific in how I offer it? I mean, everybody's so obsessed with scalability, and very similar to you, we both are like, no, our bread and butter is deep, intimate container with an individual person. And we'll dabble over here with like mastermind and mini mind and like getting a very unique supported group together. But for the most part, my magic is so specific to you, the activations of you, the embodiments of you, the remembrance for you, the illumination to you specifically, that like, you can't scale that. I can't scale me. Like, I can raise prices and I can adjust my time and I can be cutthroat with how I spend my time outside of work, but I only take 3 of my top tier private clients at a time, because when I am holding a container for you, it is like, guys, this is one of my gene keys. One of them, one single one in the pearl. And like, every bit of work gift is focused on you during that time. And I'm literally only working with 3 clients at a time. I so deeply understand their energy, and I'm in their energy and for their energy, and retaining and understand and holding that safe container. I am the chrysalis for the entire time that they're working with me. And like, the growth, the alchemy, the transformation that's possible in my minimum is 3 months. But when you work with me for 3 months or more than that, it compounds so grandly that like, I have literal testimonials of people being like, on the second call, I got more than my money's worth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, yeah, that's how it should be. That's how it should be.
That's how it
Whereas
should be.
like, the industry bullshit of like, I bought into the marketing, I bought into the sales, and I got in, and then there was no magic. Like, I didn't get what I was told I would receive. Mine is the absolute opposite of like, people go, I had no idea what this was going to be. Like, one of my testimonials, my clients like, what didn't we touch on? We worked on everything. We worked on everything. There was no aspect of my life that was not alchemically affected, and I witness it in all ways, shapes, and forms. And like, everything transformed for the better, for the more aligned, for the more truthful to myself.
Mm. Say it again louder for the people in the back.
It's a different kind of
Yes.
work. And
Yeah.
this in and of itself, the way that you are helping even me to articulate these things, like this is the work that so many marketing containers are trying to offer to us as spiritual practitioners of like, how do you language who and what you are and what you do? You have a session with Krysta and talk to her.
And I love it too because it's so powerful to really think about the ways that it feels like, and I know one of your main gifts, your conscious sun, you literally the brand of who you are is all about patience and understanding the difference between that patience and that impatience. And literally it's like when it feels like the world is kind of shutting down all these doors, or you keep trying to do it in everybody else's way, you keep taking these courses that show you how to magnetize and show you how to get bigger and show you how to expand and like bring in more wealth and all of these things. If that's not for you and how it's going to support your design the best to take care of yourself so that you have a stable foundation going into it, it's going to feel like a door is not opening for you, even though it's opened for everybody else with that. And that it's not a bad thing. That literally
Yeah.
means that the universe has your back. It's like, you don't have to do this like that. And I'm not going to reward you for doing it like
Yes.
that. I'm using very like
Yes.
abrasive language, but
Yes.
it's literally like you're going to attract your prosperity and the way that like, because wealth codes are changing. And we're not embodying the old paradigm anymore. And we're not going to be awarded through the old paradigm when it doesn't work to like help our systems. How many people do you know that have really expansive businesses that are literally just like, it feels like their soul is dying because they are so burnt out. They are
That's my
so,
ideal client. That's my
yeah,
soulmate client. That's
it
who I'm talking to.
literally,
I'm like, hey,
yes.
you are
Yeah.
successful, and yet you're like,
Yeah.
wait, this is not how I was sold success. I was sold
Yeah.
success that like if I made the money, I would be fulfilled and happy and calm and deep enjoyment and in peace and all. And you are spiritually fucking dehydrated, baby. And I'm like,
Yeah.
come here,
Really
let me
thirsty.
help you. Like, come here, let me see you. Let me see you in your fullness and allow you to see yourself in your fullness. Let me
Mhm.
hold you so that you can put it all down for a little bit, unbecome into that goo, be supported in a way that is truly supportive for you, which you might not even know how to ask for. But in this process, you will understand, oh, I can be seen. I can be held, I can be supported, and success, in so many ways, you've explained this in my chart, that success, prosperity, wealth, it's so much more than just the dollars. And I am a living embodiment of that, that like that money, the success of your business will mean nothing to you if you don't enjoy the relationship with your children, if you don't enjoy the relationship with your partner, if you don't enjoy the relationship in your home, and if you don't fucking know how to be in love with you and how to speak your truth and be you. And that is what I am here to support you in. That is what I am here to priestess you through.
Yeah. It is a new paradigm. And it is something that, again, if I had ever been successful with any of the other ways, which granted, I know a lot of people are successful when they keep pushing and they keep striving
Yes.
and they keep trying to make things work. A lot of people can be successful like that. I happen to just not have it work whatsoever for me
Yes.
at all. And it's okay.
Same
It's
here.
not
Yes.
something, yeah, I've tried and pushed and done all the things and was like, oh my God, nothing is coming in for me. And it's literally,
Mm-hmm.
it felt like an attack. It felt personal for a
Yes.
while of like, what am I missing?
Yeah.
But you're not missing anything. You just have to unlearn that that's not your way. You have
Mm-hmm.
your own way. You've got and again, I'm not giving you a list of what you, Lindsay, need to be doing
Yes.
after we get off this call. This is exactly how you're going to get your prosperity. It is a frequency. And when you
Mm-hmm.
understand the cues of this frequency, it helps you to embody whatever action you decide to take from there. And that's the piece that that people need to be more supported into. It's a newer paradigm. It's something that builds community. It's something where it's not you charging people for your session and taking their money. It's an energetic exchange.
Yes.
It is such a beautiful way of being. Money is one of our biggest spiritual teachers on the planet right now. And if you keep looking at it as it's being withheld from you, or you're not accessing it correctly, or you need to do X, Y, and Z before it'll come into your space, you're missing what it's actually showing you on a really intimate level.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, okay. Last little piece of this. You still got a little bit more space?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Of course you do. The paradox of your pearl is this: you see what's broken and you see the perfection. You hold the vision of a future where money becomes obsolete, not because of lack, but because of enoughness, of togetherness, of remembering how to live in rhythm with your life. You may or may not accumulate wealth in traditional sense, but you'll always carry a deep sense of richness.
Mhm.
Because you've touched the frequency of true prosperity, a full breath, like you were describing this, a clear sky, a shared smile, the relationships with your loved one, literally how you just described that. And I can like feel that inside of me. And from that place, projector status, you become a lighthouse for others who are ready to live from essence rather than ego.
Yes. That is what
Yeah.
I will help you to do and to be and to become and to embody and to understand and to chew up all that knowledge that you have and transmit it into wisdom, into lived wisdom. The micro, the macro, the habits, the perspective, the subconscious reprogramming, the somatic, the alchemical, the energetic, the esoteric, the logical, the scientific, that like it is a, and we'll use the corporate term, it is a synergy and it is an alchemy, but its biggest pillar is to shift you from ego, from what it looks like, into essence, into what it truly is and feels like and gets to be.
And you said this so well earlier too. This is just one of your gifts. This is just
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And it is literally like, I mean, there's so many throughout your chart. You have your emotional intelligence, you have your IQ, you've literally got your spiritual quotient of what your body is here to do. You have your brand, you have your evolution, what's going to continuously grow you so that you can understand this even more. You have what keeps you healthy. You've got your purpose. You have what you attract into your space. You have your core wound of what you came to this world with as a human. And you have all of these different ways where all of these energies play off of one another. And the funny thing is this helps you really understand this because this is just one access point. But shadows, when you're in a shadow state, they're going to naturally inspire other shadow states within your chart, which is why, like, when you get that momentum going, if you're in a spiral that's going downhill, boy, can you get lost in that really easily because all the shadow states kind of start to like support each other and it gets this momentum building. But that also means that you have different access points into your gift. If you're having a hard time figuring out how to get into your gift of like initiative and move that from like agitation into that, you have let's talk about like your brand for a second. Your other main gift is all about patience. So you're like, okay, I don't know how to get into like that at the moment, but I do know how to be patient. So I'm going to go ahead and practice my points of being patient. When you naturally access one of your gifts, you're going to naturally inspire and wake up the rest of your gifts to kind of support that. So when you understand these pieces that make up who you are, you see how they play with each other. You see how one inspires the other, how one can keep you a little bit lost. This helps me to make this process so much less personal about myself. When I start to spiral or I'm in like a fear-based, I'm like, oh my God, everything sucks and the world is awful and we're all going to die. I'm like, oh, I can see where that shadow state came and inspired this shadow state.
Yeah.
Yep, that makes sense. And now they're like kind of piggybacking on all of each other. Here's a gift that I know how to get into really easily. I'm going to go ahead and just shift this from here and start to
Right.
like, that's going to naturally wave into the other one. So it's a frequency. It's something that you can literally mold and shape and play with.
Yes. And we talked a little bit earlier about like sound and frequency and vibration being this like grounded, rooted language. Like that's how I describe what I see that's beyond the third dimension is that I am truly like interpreting vibration and frequency, not just what you're saying, not just your face, not just your body, but like your entire field has a frequency that is so much more than just a picture, so much more than just a sentence, so much more than just the soundtrack, so much more than just the shared feeling, the experience in the body. I'm like, it is a totality. And like the closest thing that I can describe it to is like a flavor. Like when you describe or when someone has the same amuse bouche where you're like, this is the entire flavor of the meal. Like I get it in an instant and then I can pull it apart and then I'm like, "Oh, there is a little bit of," and then you name the herb and then you name the specific salt and then you name the sauce and then you name the base and then you name, and it's all in this one bite. And with my clairgustance, like it comes through in such clean totality. And I'm like, all right, that one flicker, we could spend an entire 3 months unpacking that one flicker and it would change so much for you. I'm like, let me see you, let me
Oh,
help you, let me support you.
and
Invite me.
legitimately, if I can tell anybody invite me, if I can tell anybody listening, that's the kind of person that you want to see you. Like,
Yes.
invite, like,
Yes.
you seeing somebody that clearly can open up more than any millions of programs that'll tell you the action steps to take next. Being seen so clearly and so vulnerably and in such a raw state can literally be one of the, again, one of the most awakening energies that I feel like you can come in contact with. And biasly speaking, I feel it because I recognize it from the energy that I also share. But that projector energy is potent. That energy gets into your space and it amplifies things. And without that invitation, it can feel really invasive because it
Yes.
feels like such a shock. So that invitation is so needed. And it's like the second somebody is like, Lindsay, I need your work, you're in it. And you're just like, done. I've got it. I've got all the things. And there's nothing like that feeling.
You see the time lapse of the flower blooming, it's like that in an instant moment. Like, "You invited me?" It's just like, "Yes."
It is. I read once that it's like the lifeblood of projectors. And I'm like, I will literally melt into someone who fully invites me and makes eye
Yeah.
contact with me. And I'm just like, can I get closer to you? What else?
Yes.
What else can we talk about? Can we just keep
Yes.
going? Literally, you and I would probably continue talking for the rest of the day if we
Yes.
had the opportunity to do that.
Completely.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, I
Oh,
I don't have a small talk setting. Like, after I meet someone new, my partner will ask me questions like, "Where'd they go to school and where did they," and I'm like, "I don't know." And they're like, "What
I
about
don't
this?" I'm
know.
like, "I don't know."
I don't
And they're
know.
like, "What did you guys
Oh
even
my
talk
God.
about?"
I've never put that together. That's so true. I get
Yeah.
asked that all the time of like, oh, well, how is like X, how's their job doing? And I'm like,
I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I don't
We
know.
literally just talked about like the craziness of how relationships are like, it's like this like very in-depth thing, but it's like,
Yes.
yeah, I don't know what they're, I don't know
What
how old they are.
Would
Like
you
the
guys talk about,
basics of
their
like,
deepest insecurities, their grandest dreams, the things that they've never said out loud, the thing that, like,
yeah,
plagued them from when they were 7 that their mother said to them that they didn't even remember until right now, but we completely
yeah,
unpacked and rewired that, and they're like, "And you
all of it.
just met this person?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we were just sitting next to each other at the airport."
It's, I think there's also, there is a gene key that I hold. I don't know if you hold it in your human design. I haven't looked at that piece yet, but it's literally like a designed genius where people naturally feel called to share their secrets with you. And it's legitimately like I think it's gate number 33, but it's legitimately like it's the channel 1333. Um, but legitimately, like people will just that I just meet are like, well, let me tell you about this. And like, oh man, like I remember so many times people have just been like, I'll just having a basic conversation with them. And then all of a sudden they break down crying, telling me about something. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm just in it with them. And I'm like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
tell me more about that. Like, what's going on? Like, where are you feeling it? And then like, we just go on our way and I've never talked to them again from then. And then
Yes.
I'm just like, that's about right.
Yeah.
That
We
sounds
had a
about
nice
right.
little mini
Yeah.
session. I mean, you invited me,
Yeah.
so we had a whole little mini session right here in the line at the grocery store.
Yeah. And then I'm
Yeah.
lit up for the rest of the day and I'm just like, wow, life is amazing and connection and la la la.
Yes, yes, and so
Yeah.
different from because, like, we'll both go to, like, our grocery store experience could be very different. We go in and we're like, "No, I don't want, no, oh my god, no, 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 like, it's too much, it's overwhelming, and I'm, like, out of my," but one interaction like that where it's, like, someone invites you and I get to, like, use my seer, and I'm like, "It's not work, it's just it's my
Hmm.
most resonant, aligned being," and that
Yeah.
is, like, us at our best, where it's like, it's not
Mhm.
technical work, it's just us being, and for me, part of this priestess path is supporting those of us who how do we monetize that beingness where you are
Mhm.
not working, you are just being, and your natural being is activating, supporting, integrating, helping to digest, clarifying, doing these things for others, and we are changing the way that money is exchanged once again, ideally getting to this point where like money does not need to be exchanged because we have transformed the world into such a state of
Mhm.
abundance and overflow that there is no need to exchange a coin or a bill for food or medical attention or the things that we quote unquote need. It's all of us just expanding. In what way do I desire to be expanded? And if I desire to be expanded in that way, there's someone who desires to expand me in that way. And to get
Uh-huh.
to a point where we don't have to exchange money to share these gifts, people are just like, "Krista, I want to talk about the gene keys." And you're like, "Great, all I want to do is talk about the gene
That's
keys."
all I wanna talk about.
And I'm like, "I want to be your chrysalis, and I would love to, like,
Yeah.
see a world for, like, my child where, like, that is just it. Where, like, there is no exchange of funds. We are all just figuring out our dharma, our purpose, and, like, there are others finding us who are like, 'Yes, I want that.'" And we are just being in this abundant overflow because all of our needs are met. Well, Krista, I wanna give you the opportunity to share with people how they can get more of you, where they can find you, what you have to offer, all of that magic as we close up our extensive conversation. And I'm so grateful for every piece of this, and I will
Oh.
scour over that write up too. And I can't wait to talk even further with you afterward. Krista, I want to give you the opportunity to share with everybody who's now obsessed with you how to find more of you, how to share space with you, how to learn more about the gene keys, and of course, how to share in a session with you if they're like, this was so illuminating and I want that experience for myself. I want to see what's in my chart, what she could tell me about me.
I would love to. So my main presence is just on Instagram for right now. That's felt the most aligned to me for quite some time. But my Instagram handle is Krysta.Kinslow, Krysta .Kinslow. And in there, I actually have a link where I either have a free 30-minute call where we can just kind of get to know each other and play kind of like on the surface level with some of these energies just to give people an introduction into it. But my main way of working with people is in a one-on-one container. And I actually have a very dynamic container available to just jump onto my link and it'll show you there. It's called the one-on-one challenge portal. And it's basically about the two main core energies that create the most challenge for you in your life, in your evolution, and with your connections around you. And basically, like how we did today, where we went through one of these energies, we're going to go through the two that kind of just really initiate you into life. And it's the two main patterns that you're going to continue to evolve with over and over and over again throughout the life. And so this is a way that I actually introduce people into this work. And it's for everybody, even if you've been studying Gene Keys for forever and human design for forever. Kind of like how we did today, you've had so much experience with this, but the language that we kind of gave to it hit you in a different way. And so I have that as kind of like my main offering of jump into a container. It's going to be a very big deep dive. It is a 3-hour one right off the bat. So it's not for the faint of heart, but it is for the people who are open to this work. And then we would kind of work from there and play with these two main energies and have an integration session around it. And then from there, I just build a container to continue working with people month after month for as many of their gene keys as they want to do. So it starts to be a held container that mimics that first container. And so that link is available in my bio as well. It's called the one-on-one challenge portal. And it's the way to just really jump into this in a very grounded, foundational way.
And I will put all the links for all of these things in the show notes so that anybody who is like, yep, right now, let me click on that can jump right into that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And of course, I was going to say the last little thing as well too is if you're entirely new to this work in general and never even run your human design, there's also a free chart generator in my profile as well too, along with a free little introduction guide that's going to show you how not only how your energy moves when in relationship to the rest of the world, but also how your true decision making comes online, how you are when you're not in your own energy, but you're in everybody else's energy, things like that. So there's a short little guide that also comes up with that as well too. So it's a nice little freebie for that.
Love that. Yes, we will put all of those links in the show notes so that
Yay!
everybody can jump right in there. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your magic. Thank you for just being a joy to converse with and connect with and to be seen by. Like, as someone who does a lot of the seeing, to be seen in this way and to have this almost like magnifying glass in a way that allows you to look so deeply into things and read the thing before you see it in the me without even having to experience it in the me, and then me getting to share the stories. Like, I am so deeply moved by this, and I know that so many people will desire this and be able to understand the benefit of this because of this work. And I'm just so excited to get to share this with my private clients, to have you as part of this like in-house staff where when I'm working with clients to like include this and share this and get to do this together so that we get to collaborate in that way where I'm like, oh, this experience that we've had and this is what you're saying. And like putting all of these things together, this holistic perspective of how to really integrate these things into day-to-day life so that our clients are benefiting, not just experiencing. And I think we share that vibration so potently, so truthfully. It's a
Oh,
core part of us that we want it to be a part of their lives that they benefit from all the time, not just a profound experience with us on the call itself, which it will be, but that you get to
oh,
benefit
yeah.
from this forever.
This has been such a magical space, and I feel like you said it the best. There was at one point where you mentioned this, and it was like, that's the word I was looking for. This work feels validating. It's not
Mhm.
something that's going to be foreign to anyone who jumps into this space. Even though my first session with someone is going to be a 3-hour deep dive, it's not going to be foreign. It's going to be
Yes.
something that'll just feel like you're being like, it's like an exhale where you're just like, "Oh, that feels so validating to hear." And
Yeah.
you set up such a beautiful space for us to be able to go into that so beautifully today.
Mm. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been such a joy.